Superintendent Finch, and special guests. As we have recently celebrated here in the governing board room, DVUSD schools aced their report cards. When the Arizona Department of Education released A through F letter grades, we learned that 92% of DVUSD schools received an A, excellent, or B, highly performing. ADE uses 5 quantifiable factors to determine letter grades. They compare student growth from year to year, proficiency on AASA or ACT test results, English proficiency and growth, indicators measuring if an elementary school is ready for success in high school, and if a high school student is ready for success in career or higher education, as well as high school graduation rate. These calculations led ADE to award 25 DVUSD schools with an A rating. Tonight, we celebrate 4 more DVUSD extraordinary schools. Yay! Principals, when I read a short paragraph about your school, please come forward to Dr. Finch to be congratulated by the superintendent and the governing board. We will take a photo with each of you with your banner. Following the photo, you may roll up the banner and take it with you to display at your school. First up tonight, Terramar Academy of the Arts. The entire staff at Terramar Academy, which includes all certified and classified members, are very proud of the hard work, grit, and perseverance of our students in their learning. If there are Terramar staff and parents and students here, please come on up. These folks are tight and strong together with their community and will display their banner with pride. Congratulations to Principal Sharon Weiser and Terramar Academy of the Arts. Congratulations, Terramar. Yay! All right, next up tonight, the Traditional Academy at Bel Air. The team at the Traditional Academy at Bel Air is honored to be recognized as an A-rated school. This A rating reflects the hard work, perseverance, and determination of the students, teachers, staff, parents, and principal, past and present. From the accelerated curriculum to the code of conduct, the Traditional Academy at Bel Air has truly shown that they can come together to create an extraordinary educational and behavioral environment conducive to excellence. Congratulations to Principal Christine Fitzsimmons and the Traditional Academy at Bel Air. Next up, Union Park School. The teachers and staff at Union Park School are incredibly proud of their Toros. This A rating is the result of planning, learning, and perseverance to master the state standards by their students, teachers, support staff, and supportive Toro families. In just 2 short years of existence, and through growth and pandemic adversity, their school community, district leadership, and especially Dr. Finch have rallied around them to ensure student success. They are so proud to achieve this honor. Somos Toros! Congratulations to Principal Tricia Graham and Union Park School. Congratulations, Toros. All right, and our final A school tonight, West Wing School. The West Wing staff, students, and administrators are honored to be recognized as an A-rated school, as this rating measures year-to-year student academic growth. This rating reflects the dedication, perseverance, and collective efficacy of the students, staff, and parents of the West Wing community. Go Mustangs! Congratulations on their A rating, Principals Shelley Schubert and West Wing School. All right, now we have two presentations tonight. So at this time, we'll have Dr. Finch and the governing board members take their seats for our special presentations. All right, we will have a presentation about CTE, or Career Technical Education Programs. And first, it's all about Arizona Statehood Day. This video shows some of the Arizona Statehood Day learning and celebrations taking place in the district.
February 14th is Arizona Statehood Day, and students across DVUSD, including kindergartners at Sierra Verde STEAM Academy, recently learned about Arizona and dove into projects about the Copper State.
The sunset.
The sunset? Do we have pretty red and yellow sunsets like that?
No.
No!
It always looks pink and pinkish purple to me.
Why is it copper?
Because it's the Copper State. Arizona's the Copper State.
What flavor cake is that?
It's a rainbow cake.
A rainbow cake? Just like the state flag, all full of colors?
Happy birthday,
Several schools celebrated Arizona Statehood Day today, February 14th. And you can view how our DVUSD schools celebrated across our social media channels. So check them out, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And they all have various things happening at our schools. And we want to thank Sierra Verde for letting us come in and tape that. All right, now we are going to hand over the mics to Career and Technical Education Manager Jamie Fitzpatrick and CTE ambassadors, who will present DVUSD's opportunities in career and technical education programs and CTE month celebrations.
Good evening, President Paperman, Dr. Finch, and members of the governing board and guests. Thank you for the opportunity for Career and Technical Education to present to you this evening. We're honored to be here. Happy Valentine's Day, happy Arizona Statehood Day, and happy CTE month. I'd like to take a moment to introduce our presenters to you this evening. Our CTE Curriculum Instruction Assessment Specialist, Ms. Debbie Kidwell. Our students that'll be presenting tonight, Lance West, Senior Engineering and Welding student from Mountain Ridge High School in West Meck, and Ash Bhakta, Junior Bioscience and Marketing student, also from Mountain Ridge High School. And then also wanted to point out our CTE Ambassador Coordinator, who's taking photos in the audience, Mountain Ridge High School teacher, Ms. Lori Beth Horton. So we've got some CTE fast facts from 2022 and 2023. This slide presents a highlight of some of the data and achievements Deer Valley is particularly proud of. Since 2019, DVUSD has been working on developing and deploying a systemic CTE recruitment and retention plan, which we have shared in prior board presentations. We've seen enrollment and retention increases year over year through intentional efforts in work with print and digital marketing, social media, ongoing teacher and counselor professional development, targeted efforts with middle school populations, strategic events, and the work of our CTE Ambassador Program. Our total quality indicator visits and our student guests tonight speak to the retention efforts of our CTE students. We're excited to share that we have a CTE US Presidential Scholar finalist for the past 2 years. Those students were top 20 in the nation. And this year we have a 2023 semifinalist that will continue on the road to finalists this coming spring, and you will get to meet him at the March 7th Governing Board meeting. We are proud our staff is active at all levels and affiliates of ACTE, the Association of Current Technical Education. And this fall, we celebrated the work of Mrs. Debbie Kidwell as she was recognized at the Vision Conference as the ACTE New and Related Services Administrator of the Year, serving special populations. Debbie works tirelessly to ensure CTE is a mechanism for all students to stay connected to their school. Take a moment when you can to visit our website and check out CTE in the news and some of the videos, and you can see some of those articles up there of our students working, serving, and demonstrating their entrepreneurial spirit in our community. Our student success stories are abundant, and just a few are shared here. Each of our 5 high schools is home to 8 to 12 CTE satellite programs. And satellite programs are ones that are offered at our home high school campuses here in DVUSD across our 5 high school campuses. And then what we call central programs are ones that students attend on a Westmet campus. And there's 4 of those, as well as some community college partner programs. So while some of our programs are hosted at a single unique location, such as culinary arts or nursing services, many others have found across all or most campuses, such as marketing, film and TV production, and software and app design. We are going to show you a quick 1-minute video this evening to give you a glimpse into the programs across our campuses. This was created by Tegan Bernard, our CT intern, and this will display our offerings, and then you can see more if you visit dvusd.org/CTE. So we are ready for the video. Or you guys can, okay. So you guys can go ahead and visit CTE, dvusd.org/CTE, and you can click on the video and watch that there. So we're going to move on to business partnerships. Work-based learning is offered throughout a continuum of experiences, and it's the heart of all of learning in CTE in Deer Valley Unified School District. This slide is a representation of some of our partnerships, but by no means all inclusive. I can speak to partner involvement at length and we'll be happy to do so with you, but we'll call attention this evening to just a few of our business partners of note. Abrazo Healthcare at Arrowhead has been a long-term clinical site for nursing services students. Arrow Automatic Sprinkler has partnered to develop meaningful engineering internship experiences for our students. And unique with them is Arrow executive Susan Bugby was recognized as the ACT New and Related Services Division Business Partner of the Year at the National Conference in December. Another one of our long-term business partners is Marriott International, particularly JW Marriott at Desert Ridge, but also some other Valley properties, and they continue to provide support across multiple programs, including business and marketing, culinary arts, and hospitality management. Most recently, American Family Insurance, affectionately known as AmFam, not pictured here, but they've partnered with O'Connor and Boulder Creek Early Childhood Programs. They're funding concurrent enrollment So providing scholarships for college credit to those students, and that allows them to graduate with a college level certificate of completion in early childhood. So you may wonder how our CTE programs are funded. Delivering high quality CTE programs in accordance with the ACTE high quality framework, ADE's quality and compliance monitoring, and Westmec's total quality indicator site visits is only made possible through a dedicated funding stream separate and apart from M&O funding, which ensures DVUSD has expert teachers and staff, industry aligned equipment, adequate instructional supplies, and labs that mirror experiences found in business and industry. This slide in front of you outlines the funding stream and the corresponding formulas that determine annual monies. CTE funds are dedicated funds, and you can see those in the annual Gold Book budget. Federal and state funds is driven through our comprehensive local needs assessment goals developed biennially by a diverse group of stakeholders, and all expenditures are approved through the Arizona Department of Education. We've enjoyed the benefits of CTE funds to enhance CTE facilities, including development of the Avenue 27 restaurant, the Entrepreneurship Hub, the Sports Medicine Training Facility, 4 state-of-the-art broadcast studios, the Early Childhood Education Preschool Lab with observation capabilities, and so much more. Students use precision production equipment across many programs and participate in over 120 hours of authentic work-based learning within 2 years of instruction or more. CTE budgets are developed and implemented in accordance with the annual CTE Statement of Assurances, Auditor General guidelines, and reported annually through the CTED cost report. Specialized CTE grant funds allow for additional extraordinary opportunities such as the expansion of education professions and, of course, the CTE ambassadors, which we're now going to turn over to Ash, who's going to share his story with you.
Hello, board members, and happy Valentine's Day. My name is Ash Bhakta, and I'm a junior at Mountain Ridge High School and also a CTE ambassador for the Biomedical Science Department at my school. So a little bit about medical science at Mountain Ridge. It's first of all, it's only offered at Mountain Ridge. It's a 4-year program. So for any incoming freshman or incoming middle school student who's going to attend Mountain Ridge, I highly encourage the biomedical science program if they're interested in the medical field because it is a life-changing experience. There's 4 years. In addition to this, it is one of the only CTE courses offered within the district that weighs on a 5.0 scale, meaning it's an academic boost. The GPA scale is usually at a 4. However, our CTE department is rated at a 5, which is beneficial to a weighted GPA when looking at college acceptance rates. So in addition to this, what we learned in biomedical science over the 4 years covers a large array of different avenues in the medical field. So that includes epidemiology, anesthesiology, forensic science, and a lot more, and biotechnology, as we are learning in the 3rd year today. So a little bit what I'm learning about right now, we are learning about a fictitious family who's going through cancer, and we are learning about how to diagnose, how to treat, and how to assess that type of cancer, specific ovarian cancer. So in the 4th year of the biomedical science program, which is biomedical innovation, our seniors this year had created a prosthetic arm and showcased that to the local middle school, Hillcrest Middle School, and showed them what it is like to live as a disabled person and have a prosthetic arm. So that presentation was their capstone project of the year, and they display that at the middle school chapters. So a little bit more about the biomedical program is it's affiliated with the CTSO called HOSA. HOSA is essentially a CTSO that encapsulates the competitive setting, and also it provides a large array of scholarship opportunities for seniors. So a lot of kids who go through HOSA and the biomedical science program often get a full ride to U of A, ASU, and GCU through HOSA and all its benefits through scholarship opportunities that we offer. My personal favorite is the competition because you get to win a lot of medals, go to state, and even qualify for internationals. In addition to HOSA and the biomedical science program, I'm also affiliated with marketing, which is another CTE program at our school. In addition, it's CTSO called DECA. DECA is a CTSO that focuses on emerging leaders in the business world. So my personal favorite, again, is the competitive setting because I love to win medals, win plaques, attend state, and even last year, I got the chance to qualify for the international stage in Atlanta, Georgia last year by placing second in the state conference in Tucson. So that was an incredible experience of mine I really had. And this year, that motivated me to actually now be running for Arizona DECA state office this term, which I'm currently campaigning right now. So that is a little bit about me in the biomedical science program. My real passion is to do something in the field of medicine because that is what my parents did, and I'm really influenced to do something with that in the future as well as in business. So if that's a little bit about me, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. No problem.
All right, and now we'll hear from Lance West.
Hi, I'm Lance West. I'm an engineering student at Mountain Ridge. I'm in my senior year of that program, and I'm also a welding year 2 student at the Westmec Central Campus. So both of my programs are kind of more focused on hands-on physical building of things, and that's something I'm definitely more interested in. So I'm able to apply some of the stuff I do at Westmec to my engineering class. So for the senior year, it's a capstone project. We have to build a prototype of something, and I am using some of my welding skills that I've learned at Westmec on my project, and then I'm also helping out with a few of my other classmates' projects, just putting some things together for them. So having that kind of opportunity to go out and learn new things in different fields, like with engineering, we've gone through some basic force structure stuff, so like beam deformation and other different properties of materials, to digital electronics with AND gates, OR gates, inverters, NAND gates, and we've learned how all those works. And we get to put those all together our senior year, and then having the opportunity to go to Westmec and learn some more about like the actual physical construction of products, be they large structural systems like bridges or buildings, to smaller, more refined things like car exhaust systems or even computer frames. Just being able to put that all together has been an awesome experience for me. And I just want to say thank you for having those connections to Westmec and also the supplies at our school to learn about all these things.
Thank you. And now Debbie Kidwell will share some of the CTE month happenings in DVUSD.
These young men are pretty hard to follow, right? I'm happy to share some exciting news from things that are happening around DVUSD during CTE month. The first is we launched the first hiring event of the year at Deer Valley High School last Friday. And I say we, but actually it was the students and Mrs. Amber Gloria that made that all happen. And when I stopped in to see the students who had planned the event in the hospitality management program, I remarked that they were changing lives, and they had smiles as big as you can imagine because they really did pull that event together and did all the planning under their teacher leadership. We have other events coming up as well. The next one is at Mountain Ridge on March the 9th. And we look forward if one of the governing board members would like to come and see that event in action. Mrs. Horton is a teacher at that campus and she'll be there. So we'd love to have you come and see that event as well. The other thing that we've done this month is our third largest program is software and app design, and that is available at every single campus. As you know, that's a high wage, high demand career. And we were able to launch some hands on activities this month. Mrs. Horton and the largest program in the district at Mountain Ridge, they kicked off their activities just yesterday. Barry Goldwater kicked off theirs last week. But these Arduino kits are hands on activities where students can build things that interact with the world using an app. So it's a really exciting way for them to get involved in their learning after they've learned some coding languages. Another exciting opportunity that's coming up is on February the 25th. Barry Goldwater High School will host the National Restaurant Association and the Pro Start competition. This is an amazing partnership between industry and education that allows students to develop their professional skills through competitive events. And so we're proud to, as a district, to host that on a Saturday, I might add. So that means there's extra staff coming in to help with that. And we appreciate that opportunity to share that with you. And then finally, you already know this, what makes all of this happen in education is the people, the paraprofessionals, the staff, the administrators, and the teachers. And we are so excited to recognize two of our teachers out of about 50, but many of them deserve these accolades as outstanding teachers with Future Business Leaders of America. So those two teachers are Mrs. Shauna Bernard, who's a longtime veteran at Mountain Ridge and taught just about every CTE program, but presently teaches film and TV and has just a masterful way of incorporating film and TV into everything that she does. In addition, Mrs. Tiffany Kurtz is the instructor for accounting. It's our only accounting program in the district, Mrs. Fisher, and she does an exceptional job with that. She even has a third-year component where students are certified to do taxes for people. They do taxes for some of our teachers who come in from out of the country for free. It's called the VITA program, and it's a very exciting opportunity for students to be involved with helping their community and learning how to use their skills in a work-based learning environment. Both of these teachers are just purely amazing. They do stellar work with their students and they travel with them. We thank you very much for your support approving those travel packages because it's very important that they get out there and do that. So we thank you for your support. We love CTE. Every month is a great month in CTE, but February in particular is a great month to celebrate all of the great things our teachers and students achieve. And I just want to say in closing my part that these two guys are just continuing to rack up awards and recognition for our district at all levels, and they juggle a schedule that makes mine look simple. So good job, gentlemen. Thank you.
So in closing, as we watched Phoenix shine in the spotlight this past week, Phoenix will again take the center stage in November of 2023 as the host city for ACTE Vision, the national conference, the premier event for professional educators in CTE. So we are excited for many of our DVUSD staff to be a part of this awesome opportunity. And we thank you for supporting CTE students, teachers, attending the CTE events throughout the year, visiting CTE programs in our district, and recognizing the importance of building a workforce pipeline in Arizona through a variety of post-secondary options for our DVUSD extraordinary graduates. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. So at this time, our students do provide their own transportation. So either the families provide it or the students drive themselves. We will provide a Phoenix bus pass to anybody that requests it. I know it is a passion of Dr. Spurgeon, superintendent at WestMech, to try and get additional transportation from the home districts to the WestMech facilities. So I know he is working intensely on making that happen in his tenure at WestMech.
evening and welcome to the governing board meeting for the Deer Valley Unified School District. Today, Tuesday, February 14, 2023. I call the order to meet at 7:07. Let the record reflect that all board members are present If you're able to stand, please do so and join me for the pledges of allegiance and a moment of silence. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Okay.
We're out of order because it's normally done.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Motion passed 5-0. Okay. Right here, yeah. Okay, right there.
No, I voted.
Yeah.
I voted aye. Can you fix it?
Okay, 5-0. Moving on to action A. Approve the recommendation of the principal of Deer Valley Middle School.
I move that
Yeah.
the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Deer Valley Middle School as Ray Utter.
Second.
Mrs. Muffin, do you have anything to say? Okay, Dr. Zurba.
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we are very proud to be here this evening to recommend Mr. Ray Utter for the principal of Deer Valley Middle School. Ray has been there for this school year and has done an outstanding job in some challenging circumstances. And for some folks, they may not know that Ray began his educational career by being a teacher at Deer Valley Middle. So he started there and now is coming back. And again, we are proud to recommend him for the position of principal.
Thank you. Congratulations, Ray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0. Would you like to say something, Ray?
President Paperman, Dr. Finch, and distinguished board members, thank you very much, and Sheila too. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I'd also like to thank the staff at Deer Valley Middle School for all the hard work and the strides that they've made this school year. And I look forward to all the amazing things we're going to accomplish over the next few years. Thank you.
Can I say something? Is your family here?
Right over
Could
there.
you stand up so we could clap for you too? Thank you, Melissa.
Moving on to B, 2023 Career and Technical Education Month Proclamation. Ms. Fisher, could you read the proclamation?
Oh, it's in the magazine. Okay. Whereas February 1 through 28 of 2023 has been designated Career Technical Education Month by the Association for Career and Technical Education and the Deer Valley Unified School District. And whereas career and technical education offers students the opportunity to gain the academic, technical, and employable skills necessary for career readiness. Whereas students in the career and technical education programs participate in authentic, meaningful experiences that improve the quality of their education and increase their engagement and achievement. And whereas the career and technical education provides students with career exploration opportunities early in their education experience, which enables them to make informed and beneficial decisions about their academic coursework and pursue established programs of study and career pathways. And whereas the leaders from business and industry nationwide report increasing challenges related to addressing skills gap and connecting qualified professionals with the available careers in critical and growth CTE-related fields, including healthcare, energy, advanced manufacturing, cybersecurity, and information technology. And whereas career and technical education prepares students for these and other fulfilling careers by offering integrated programs of study that link secondary and post-secondary education and lead to the attainment of the industry-recognized credentials. And whereas the career and technical education programs ensure that the employers have access to qualified and thriving workforce, ensuring America has a strong and competitive economy. Now, therefore, I, Kimberly Fisher, Governing Board Vice President of Deer Valley Unified School District, do hereby proclaim February 1 through 28, 2023 as Career and Technical Education Month in Deer Valley Unified School District and urge all citizens to become familiar with the services and benefits offered by the career and technical education programs in this community and to support and participate in these programs to enhance their individual skills and productivity. In testimony whereof, I have here to set my hand and cause it to be affixed, the great seal of the, and then that'll be the city council, but that's not correct. It would be of the Deer Valley. Okay, city or county, so it'd be Deer Valley Unified School District, and I'll sign it afterwards. Do I need a motion?
Do I have a motion to approve 2023 Career and Technical Education
So moved.
CTE?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mine didn't come out.
Mine's not up either.
Okay. Ms. Gallagher, do you have something to say for this?
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and guests. We are just so very proud of our career and technical education program, and we definitely appreciate our school board recognizing them in CTE month. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item is district report. For this goes to finance report to Mrs. Mock.
President Paperman, members of the board, guests in person and online. This evening, we are first going to present our student enrollment report for the month of January 2023. As we had reported in December, we are now seeing an increase in enrollment from the same time last year. Definitely not an increase that we were seeing at the beginning of the year, but with continued growth in the district and the arrival of some of our first families from TSMC, we do now have a total of 32,987 students, which is a 1.0% change from the same time last year. And I will take any questions about the enrollment report.
Any questions, governing boards? Okay, next, we're moving on to public comments.
She has two reports.
Oh, two more. Okay, two more.
Nope. Thank you. I do have one more.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit about the funding that we receive from those students. This is our M&O budget report for the month ending January 2023 as well. We are not projecting any carry forward at this time. We've had a couple footnotes on the bottom of this budget pretty much all year long. One of those is the $46.7 million aggregate expenditure limit potential reduction. Those who follow the state legislature know that as of February 8th, the aggregate expenditure limit has been corrected for the 22-23 school year. However, this specific report is for the month ending January, so we're not going to see any of those changes on this report, but we will see those next month. We are showing currently a slight over expenditure in our certified classified sub-budget. Part of that is because our sub-expenses are split. A portion of those sub-expenses are going to be recoded to our ESSER, which is our elementary secondary schools emergency relief fund. Easy for me to say. And there is a little bit of a premium in the sub rate that we're paying right now, and that is in the ESSER funds. We are preparing to make that journal entry in the near future to recode a portion of each sub from the first semester to that fund. And so we will see a different amount on that sub line. And now that we know that the aggregate expenditure limit has been lifted, we will be able to begin some potential have some predictions for what our carry forward will look for now that we're not trying to hold on to cover $46.7 million. And so all of those changes will be represented in the February report that we present at the first board meeting in March. But if you have any questions about this report, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have a
Any
question.
questions? Okay.
Heather, it wasn't covered in here, but we had received money from the governor or from the state. I think it was called a 100-day fund. Could you give some information on that?
President Paperman, Ms. O'Brien, there was a 100-day in-person grant that was allocated by Governor Ducey to school districts who in the 2020-2021 school year had more than 100 days of in-person instruction for the school year. And Deer Valley was awarded funds on that grant, but those funds are now frozen at the state level, and they're not currently affecting the M&O budget because it is such a separate fund. It will not change it probably will not likely change the carry forward of M&O or what that looks like, and we are still basically waiting for formal information from the governor on what changes to the program look like, and we can provide that either at a future board meeting or in a board update as well.
I appreciate that. I know it might not have been a spot to put it, but your finance, and it just came up, so thank you.
Any other questions, Governing Board? Mr. Carver?
Ms. Mock, do we know why those funds are frozen? Is it something on the legislative end or something on the district end?
It is neither. That's a great question, Mr. Carver. President Paperman, members of the board, they are frozen because at the federal level, it's an allocation of federal funds, and there is a disagreement at the federal level for the purpose for which they were designated to the schools. And so I think what the governor's office is most likely to do is find a more equitable distribution of the remaining funds.
Thank you. Any other questions? Next, we are moving on to public comments. Mrs. Fisher, please read the admonishment and call the speakers. Thank you.
Okay, Darcy Tweedy and Jenny Frank. If you can go ahead and step to the podium. Jenny, sorry, is first. No, that's right. Darcy and then Jenny. The board invites public comment on district's business in general and on any item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing the name, address, and topic at hand, and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary to accommodate all speakers within a 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disparaging personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any item not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Ms. Tweedy, if you could step up to the microphone, state your name for the record.
Is it on? Okay. Okay. My name is Darcy Tweedy. I was a governing board member when policy BHC was adopted. I am here to speak to you because I was contacted by a current board member after she was told that she had violated this policy by contacting the IT department to unlock her computer. IT had agreed to meet with her until the superintendent intervened and informed both parties that they were violating this policy. As a result, the current board president was unable to access board docs and Vibe for 13 days. It wasn't fixed until 5 minutes before the next board meeting. Part C of policy BHC states official communications, policies, directives, board concerns, and board action. And I would like to emphasize the next two words. As appropriate will be communicated to employees by the superintendent. Contacting IT to get a computer unlocked is not an official communication, policy issue, board concern, directive, or action, and is definitely appropriate. I initially had concerns with this policy. However, the superintendent explained having two board members who were former colleagues presented some unique challenges. Former colleagues spoke with Ms. Frank and myself, therefore he wanted employees to contact administration before taking concerns to the board. The superintendent was also concerned that his cabinet could be overwhelmed with requests for information if they were being contacted by 5 different board members. He wanted all requests to information to come through him to avoid creating an unreasonable workload for staff. I do not believe the former board would have adopted this policy with the broad interpretation that is being used now. The issue is much larger than one board member's computer problem. Without parameters, this policy can be abused to halt communications between board members and employees that the superintendent does not want to occur. I encourage the board to seek a legal review of this policy to establish what authority it gives the superintendent to limit communications between the board and employees. These recent actions illustrate the weakness of a broad policy that the superintendent can manipulate to control the board. If the scope of this policy cannot be limited, then I would encourage the board to bring this policy back and overturn it.
Ms. Tweedy, your time's up. Ms. Frank, if you could step to the podium, to the speaker, sorry.
Okay.
State your name for the record.
Can you guys hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, you rearranged the furniture since the last time I was here. Okay, that's not what I'm here to talk about. My name is Jenny Frank. I served on the governing board 4 years, 1 year as president and 2 years as vice president. I'm here to speak about policy BEDBA and the roles of the board president and superintendent in preparing the meeting agenda. The superintendent prepares an agenda in consultation with the president and vice president. Per policy BEDBA, the president approves agenda items before the agenda is posted. This is because the board is tasked with acting as the general agent of the state of Arizona and carrying out the will of the people of the DVUSD district in the matter of public education as stated in policy BBA, board powers and responsibilities. I would like to make the public and other board members aware of what went on behind the scenes in posting action item 8D, standards-based grading for this meeting. This is not a comment on standards-based grading itself. It's on the procedure that occurred in posting this item. At the agenda review, the board president requested SBG be added as an action item. The superintendent sent an executive summary to the president. The president emailed back a revised executive summary along with a motion that stated, replace standards-based grading with traditional grading at all DVUSD schools no later than July 31st, 2023. The superintendent then sent the board president several text messages and an email stating he would not post the items as written. He felt the executive summary was not neutral, but did not propose revisions to consider. The president reiterated her request 4 times to post the agenda as she had approved it. And these communications are a matter of public record. When the agenda was finally posted on Saturday evening, the motion itself was omitted, and this was the only action item posted without a motion, although one had been provided and approved. Now, it's not unheard of for the superintendent to disagree with the board president on an action item. We didn't always see eye to eye. And for example, when I was VP, the president at that time contacted me to draft a motion and a summary for an item she wanted on the agenda, but the superintendent did not. The item was placed correctly on the agenda for the board to discuss and vote on. And a motion on the agenda is not a fait accompli. It can be amended in a public meeting. Any board member can offer an amendment to a motion for the board as a whole to discuss and vote on. But I don't know how you can vote on an action item that has no motion. And quite frankly, it gives the appearance to the public that the district is not transparent or acting in good faith. Honestly, I did not witness the level of dysfunction and uncooperative behavior I'm hearing of now. This is really bad for the districts. It's stressful for employees. Violations of these policies cannot be tolerated. It also damages the relationship between the board and the superintendent, and it impedes elected officials from fulfilling their duties. So I would highly encourage the board to call an executive session to rectify this immediately, because if this continues, this, arguments over an agenda, y'all are going to have a very long year. Thank you for considering my comments tonight.
Do you want me to correct that misinformation, or do you want me to, because it was particular to me, so. Sure. Well, I'll just cut to the chase. Computer. When a board member contacts my highest level IS&T person to fix their computer without me knowing, it defers the opportunity for me to direct that to the person that would most be able to fix it. Well, it turns out it was about board docs, which our IS&T program has nothing to do with. Board docs is a separate tool that we buy. And so if you need, in this case, the password need be fixed. And so Ms. Sheila can do that. And that's where I directed the board member to go to. So in general, the reason I have this policy, and I actually volunteered to have the attorney here tonight, but wasn't agreed upon. The reason why you have the separation of powers from the board and the superintendent is for the 4,000 employees to not get confused that they have 6 bosses instead of 1. So that's why going through your superintendent is why you do that. The second thing was...
We can respond to criticism, but we shouldn't be debating this.
It's not debating. I'm just correcting the misinformation.
That's not necessarily
It was geared at the superintendent.
Right, but
Correct,
what you're
or no?
stating is not necessarily correct.
It's correct.
No, it's not. I was here when we adopted it.
Well, if we're not going to have a debate, then we shouldn't have a
move
debate.
on.
If
You're
you
Want me
debating.
to fix the other part too, or no?
if you want to correct the other one, because I did discover what the problem was with one,
Okay.
and so if you want to correct that, that was okay.
Yeah.
And this is all going to be on our board retreat so that we can go over all this and debate back and forth. But we need to follow.
There's no debate going except for what's going on right
Okay,
now.
we're going to move on to the
Correct,
next.
but if
He's
the
just-
information,
he's just-
it's
We're
it's not
going
accurate.
to move on to the next
So
item.
wait, let him clarify the last one.
Okay.
And the other one was related to the president of the board and the superintendent working in tandem for design of the agenda. So that has not been occurring as well as I would like, but we've been working on our schedules, trying to make it work better. We basically work through text. That's how we get stuff done. But in relationship to how the motion was written under Robert's Rules of Order, you don't do it in the negative form. And that's the part that I was trying to explain, is that the motion, your executive session should be neutral, your executive summary should be neutral, and your motion should always be, should never be written in the negative form. So that's my angle that I tried here. But in the end, it didn't matter. It was, I put what she requested on there. So the executive summary is her approach to it. I didn't touch it. And then the same with the motion, just left it the same.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. This is your angle. This is your view. I did not see my executive summary and motion as negative.
Point of order. This is something we can be debated at another time and another a meeting appropriately agendized. To answer the one question that should have been answered, it was in fact posted. However, if you are not logged in as a board member, you cannot see the motion, is what I have found on my computer. So that is the explanation for it being posted. It is posted.
Right.
But so that's the one defendable or explanation. The rest we can all debate in a meeting.
Also, if you look at it through a phone versus a computer, then your app doesn't have those features. So sometimes the community looks at through the board agenda through their app, and it won't show different parts of it. You need to go to a computer.
They could not see it through their computers either. Thank you, Dr. Finch. We're going to move on to item 6. Next, we are moving to item 6, old business. A, approve governing board policy KB, parental involvement in
Second.
I move that we.
Oh, I thought she
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
I thought she already read it. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what she was saying.
No.
I apologize.
I move that the governing board approve policy KB, parental involvement in education, as recommended.
Second.
Mrs. Galligan, do you have a presentation for this?
President
Dr.
Paperman.
Galligan, sorry.
That's okay. President Paperman, we had the preview presentation at the last board meeting,
Okay.
and nothing has changed since then. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, governing board? No. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Moving to item B. Mr. Carver. Moving on to item B, approve K-12 social study curriculum, resource material, adoption and recommendation.
I move that the governing board approve the K-12 social studies curriculum resource materials adoption as recommended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone nay?
Can I explain my vote?
Oh, sure.
Are we okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm going to vote nay, and there are some things in this newest release of social studies curriculum that are concerning in today's day and age that I think we need to be a little bit more sensitive to. And even though they might be few and far between, we need to be aware of it. I'll just try to keep this as non-inflammatory as possible. We'll just use the entry that they have concerning COVID. There's an entry in there concerning COVID that states, if you chose not to wear a mask, then you're exercising personal freedom. But if you chose to wear for the common good, that by itself may not seem like a big deal, but you could potentially pit children against children because maybe one child wore the mask and one child didn't wear the mask. And now we're going to discuss whether or not the child didn't wear the mask really. And just today on Fox News, it came out that it has been determined by scientific fact that the masks offered little to no help. So we're considering social studies curriculum that is discussing modern day events before the dust is settled. They're discussing BLM, they're discussing President Trump, they're discussing COVID, and I just think that McGraw-Hill is too far forward to be discussing social studies in the manner that they're doing it. I think that social studies is something that is fact-based, that should not be leaning or tilting the conversation one way or the other. So to that point, I'm going to be voting no on this.
Any other governing board question? No? Okay, I'm going
Can
to.
I get a clarification on
Yes.
that particular curriculum in question? That is for an AP course, is that correct? That where that bit of information comes from is for an AP course that is designed to help the students achieve their AP when they take their final test?
President Paperman, Ms. Simicek, that is correct.
Okay,
It was
thank you.
the AP Social Studies text.
Thank
And
you.
one more question, I guess, to that. Are AP courses required?
President Paperman, Ms. Ordway, they are opt-in courses by high school students.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to make one more comment, or have I used up my?
That's fine, make one more comment.
So ancillary to the COVID comment, I would just add that there's an ARS 41-1494, and I'm not going to drain the whole thing, but there's a couple topics before us tonight that are going to touch closely to this that we need to be aware of and familiar with in case the community were to bring it up. And Section B in that ARS says this state, a state agency or a city, town, county, or political subdivision of this state may not use public monies for training, orientation, or therapy that presents any form of blame or judgment of the basis of race, ethnicity, or sex. This subsection does not preclude any training on sexual harassment. And then it goes down to D, what blame or judgment on the basis of race, ethnicity, or sex means. And there's 1 through 7 points on there. And if you were to look at some of the other examples that was sent to the administration by the community on some of the other issues that come up in the AP books, you would see that some of them walk a very fine line in trying to assign blame for some of the things that have happened recently in our country. I understand that these issues that were brought to our attention are mainly in the AP books, but this information is to us as a all or nothing with the curriculum, and so my vote still stands as nay.
Just have one more little thing.
Sure.
So the lines that we were sent were part of paragraphs that were part of chapters that were part of a unit. So your inference may be different than my inference. What happens is when we rewrite history or don't include it, we repeat it and end up with people that don't know what went on. So as much as things might be uncomfortable for anyone, we're trying to teach our kids to disseminate information and be able to form their opinions from facts that, I mean, it's a fact, it's an opinion, and then they move on. So that's just, if that whole section that you read that you read the few lines from, if you read the whole unit, it might have given you a different take on it. That's all.
I was able to-
And we do have I'm sorry, we did make it with the AP books and everything else, so I don't know how we separate that, Dr. Galligan.
Ms. Fisher?
I would just like to say, the necessity to try and negate someone's belief, pretending it's a fact just because someone wrote it down is not. I am voting for the curriculum, to adopt the curriculum, not because I agree with those statements, but because I know that we need a complete curriculum. I would ask that our parents be engaged and be aware of what's in the curriculum and have conversations with their students. Because the curriculum is written one-sided politically, and if you're not of that belief, go over the information with your student, talk about it. And there are some things that are opinions that are always going to be opinions. One person's not going to believe what the other person believes, but I do believe we need a curriculum. Did we have a complete vote?
Well, I need to, yeah. So I'm going to say that I did have community members that had concern with this curriculum. So I'm going to vote nay for the reason is that if this is going to come back to the board and then parents start advocating for their students and then it goes all the way up to the state level. Like, we don't want this to be banned. Buying curriculum costs a lot of money. So I do advise the community members to please look at the curriculum adoption because it's not cheap to buy curriculum. And if this becomes a major issue with the community, it comes back to the board.
Can I say something about taking the time to look at the curriculum for our parents, students, board members, anyone in our community? My understanding is it's a process to create this curriculum that we've decided to present to the board. It didn't just happen overnight, it began in August. It involved parents, it involved teachers, it involved a lot of members of our community going through the information and deciding what they thought would work best for our students. And that curriculum has been made available for all of us to see for quite some time now.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 3-2, okay. We're gonna move on to item C, approve K-12 music curriculum materials recommendation. Mrs. Backstrom.
Let me go make a motion.
Okay,
I move that the governing board approve K-12 music curriculum resource materials adoption as recommended.
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Now's the discussion.
Oh, Ms. Backstrom, good. Okay.
President Paperman, the information that's been shared at the last board meeting remains the same, and we appreciate your consideration.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All that oppose say nay. Aye. Okay, 5 votes, pass for none, okay.
It's delayed a little bit.
Okay. Okay, we are moving on to item 7, consent agenda. Mrs. Fisher, can I get a motion to adopt?
I move that the governing board approve the consent agenda A through K as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Aye. Okay, five votes. We are moving on to item 8, approve employee professional development out of state. Mrs. Fisher, can I get a motion?
I move that the governing board approve all employee professional development out of state per governing board policy GCCE.
Second.
Any questions?
Discussion.
Discussion, yeah.
So there's item H. I would be willing to vote for this. Sorry. Is that what you wanted? Okay. Item H, I would be willing to vote for this package, except for item H, as again, it calls into question some concern. Gifted in Color, 2023. If you look at the website, again, I'm going to cite the ARS that I cited earlier. This is in conjunction with Huston Tillotson University. And part of the statement of what it is that they're doing is, as we unpack how power and privilege impact who gets to be brilliant in the United States. Again, this would have been a really ideal thing to possibly have during the civil rights movement, but we've moved decades beyond that now, and I think that we're on a slippery slope in our country where we keep bringing up racism as often as possible and pointing out to children why they may or may not be successful in life. And I don't think that since this is coming out of the M&O, we have no business spending $5,000 to send 2 of our faculty out there to participate in this, because again, I think it gets us awfully close to violating that ARS, as exercising what could be taught in this particular environment could violate that.
Mrs. Paperman, can I ask
Sure.
Dr. Finch to figure out who's sending who and what the conference is?
Let's go water.
I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but we can find it for you. I guess my thoughts on it is all conferences probably have something in it that the DVUSD board and I even myself wouldn't agree with. But when they go get their information, they have to come back and assimilate it to our system, what we require, the Deer Valley Way and the state standards and the state requirements. So that is actually pretty common when you're going to a large conference like that. So we actually have in front of us here, it's the Goldwater staff that are heading to that. But in general, that would not be uncommon to go to a conference that would have a session that would be different than what we believe in here. But we treat them as professionals to go to the conferences and the sessions that best help them become great teachers and great leaders in the Deer Valley system. So that wouldn't be uncommon, though, but good observation.
Thank you.
All those in favor,
Just
say.
a quick question.
Okay.
Did we actually review any of this to see whether or not it, I don't know that I've ever seen any district that reviews conferences to the level of whether or not they would violate ARS. And the ARS that Mr. Carver is referencing is new. So I'm just thinking the timing. Did we review whether or not this would violate the new statute?
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, this particular conference is for students who have been identified gifted and the subpopulations of students. Have we actually said, does this violate a statute? I can't say that we did, but I do know that for this particular conference, for that particular school, who is broadening their opportunities for all learners with gifted education, as we're trying to do across all of our 5 high schools, this is a conference that will meet the needs of the educators to meet the needs of all students at that school.
Okay, so this is essentially the question I had asked in the last, that you answered in the Friday update about the gifted students that are in the Title I schools type falls under that same kind of.
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, I don't believe that is the case for any of the students who feed up into Goldwater from the Goldwater region, or students who come to that school for, let's say, the International Baccalaureate program or any of the other high achieving student programs. It's not just for our children who are underserved potentially or in subpopulations, but this particular conference is to help educators work with gifted identified children who come from diverse populations, whether it is a white population, Hispanic population, any population.
Okay, I think I understand. All right, thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay. Vote pass 4-1, okay. Moving on to approving addenda, pre-approval. Mrs. Fisher, can I get a motion?
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miglorino, do you have a presentation?
President Paperman, no presentation
Okay.
for this item.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose say nay. Five votes, okay. Moving on to item C. Mrs. Fisher, can I get a motion?
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to approve, I'm going to slaughter this, Orcutt Winslow as the architect for the Northern Service Center garage parking using 1 GPA contract 18-21P.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So we do have a presentation for this one.
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, just very quickly, this is a project that was included in the 2019 bond authorization. It is designed to create some efficiencies within our transportation department so that we will be able to do maintenance and repair of our bus fleet that's currently stored. We refer to as the Northern Services Center adjacent to the Desert Mountain School campus. This is a pre-engineered metal building that would act as the ability to perform those maintenance tasks and eliminate the need to transport the buses from the Northern Services Center down to our 51st Avenue location for everything that they need serviced, including oil changes and the like. So this is just the architect that we're asking the board to consider tonight. We will bring back a contract for the general contractor when the design is completed by the architect, and I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions, board members? All those in favor say aye. All those that oppose say nay. 5-0, vote passes 5-0. Moving on to item D, standard-based grading. Mrs. Fisher, can I get a motion?
I move that the governing board approve to replace standards-based grading with traditional grading at all DVUSD schools no later than July 31st, 2023.
Is there a second?
Some public comment?
Oh, any
can
comments?
You need a second?
Okay, I second it. Okay, so I'm just going to say the reason I have this. Oh, public comments on that. Okay, public comments on that. Okay, Ms.
Okay.
Fisher.
Yeah, we already did read the
Okay.
acknowledgement. I have Kelsey Reed, Kendra Ament, Lauren Giannoni, probably slaughtered that one, sorry, and Tricia Graham. If you could step up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Thank you for the study session last week. I thought it was very informative. And I just wanted to make a quick comment. And I am hoping that our voices were heard and that everything regarding SBG is at a bare minimum halted and does not get implemented next year in the schools that have not implemented it. And it is removed from Sandra Day O'Connor. Thank you.
Kendra Ament, good evening, President Paperman, board members. I also want to thank you for the opportunity to hold a study session to where the community was able to voice their concerns and thoughts on SBG. I thought it was very informative. Before coming tonight, I reviewed the board docs and the attachments regarding SBG, and there was a few surveys done. There was a private survey done by a board member and also by the district. If you don't know already, there is no community input or support for SBG. Teachers don't want it, students don't want it, parents don't want it. I think over this last year, we've stood here and been able to express factual points that have happened to our students and that were coming from teachers. I hope tonight you all use your best judgment and decide to vote SBG out of all Deer Valley schools. Please don't mince like what happened at the last meeting where certain things were taken, certain things were given back. We need it straight out, all of it, all schools. If you want to implement certain portions of SBG, you guys can discuss that later at another meeting and include the community and the teachers in that. But as far as right now, no manipulations, nothing. It's all or nothing. SBG needs to completely get out of Deer Valley. Thank you.
Any more public comments? Yeah, that was fun. Okay.
Good evening, President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch. I'm Lauren Ganuni. SBG is the result of intense training, collaboration, practice, and planning. It is a practice used around the world, many public school systems and states such as Texas, Iowa, Washington, and so many more. It's rooted in educational research conducted by ASU, U of A, and Indiana University, just to name a few. We are unable to grade without the work we complete in the PLC process. The grade students and parents see is a culmination of teacher pedagogy and planning, educational background, continued professional learning, breaking down standards, data analysis, practicing high-yield instructional strategies, providing all modalities of a learning and collaborative environment, ensuring assessments are of and for learning and involve students in a learning reflection. Clear success criteria, student data binders, and student-friendly, holistic, and analytic rubrics. They create a safe learning environment where failure is not an option. Implementing tiered learning systems of support based on formative data and professionalism, communication, and participating in PLCs. Those already in our system may recognize that we actually just broke down DVUSD's entire teacher evaluation system by standard while also walking you through the entire PLC and grading process. Social media. Most of the pages on which we are not members has provided our teacher and a lot of interesting perspectives, most of which are not brought directly to us in the form of questions, clarification, information, or for the purpose of understanding. This weekend, we read on Facebook that our school is having some sort of success with SBG, but after asking around, there are several teachers that are unhappy with it. They are just not willing to speak as the principal is extremely pro SBG. We were unaware of the connection of the person who actually posted it, what they have with Union Park, as we don't recognize the name. But please let me respond to some of the social media and public comments. Number one, children are not a science experiment. We agree. Education is an ever-evolving industry. We have to keep up with changes, world events, new skill sets, careers, and societal changes. That means that we have to innovate to survive. It also means that we must set students up for success and to see themselves as tenacious learners who persevere through adversity. Number two, this is not real world. It is real world. In all professional jobs, we are given rubrics and specific expectations to uphold in order to keep or advance our positions. We are not given an average grade on our performance. Even Tricia teaches a master's level class at ASU. She gives her master's students extensions and opportunities to correct their mistakes for full credit. She wants her master's students to be future leaders. It's her job to ensure they're prepared with the skills to lead a school.
Go ahead, state your name for the record.
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, I'm Tricia Graham, the principal at Union Park. Number three, it's a lot of work. This is true in the beginning. However, it's the most important process and work educators experience. Once you get through the first year, the planning gets easier and easier to refine and adjust while the teaching gets better and better. Number four is the teacher's easy way out of grading. This is the most objective, reflective, and student-focused grading method we've ever experienced. Teachers must know exactly what the student has to learn before they teach any lesson. Teachers have to better understand the true meaning of mastery on a specific skill versus correct and incorrect on multiple skills, thus ensuring that what they taught has truly been learned. Number five, several teachers at Union Park are unhappy but afraid to speak out against SBG. All teachers hired at Union Park have a standards-based mindset. Teachers are not afraid to speak with me. In fact, we have many conversations regarding our frustrations. We are in constant struggle of finding the balance between using the curriculum with fidelity and using standards to drive instruction. Our teachers use the standards and the curriculum as a resource rather than the curriculum teacher's addition to guide instruction. We spent over a year trying to shift stakeholder mindset to standards-based grading from traditional grading systems of percentages in A through F. In July 2022, the decision was made to merge the two systems, further confusing the issue. Kindergarten has actually been utilizing the standards-based grading for many years. This is the first time in our educational careers that we're giving kindergarten through second grade students an A through F. These are foundational years where the quarter marks benchmark toward mastering the fundamental standards expected at the end of the year. When we try to create an opportunity for an A or a 4 with a higher DOK, it often changes the standard to the next grade level, which is inappropriate. Using an ES, N, or U system in K2 continues to make sense. Power School has been a struggle for teachers, students, and parents alike. Even though we're working closely with Power School, we do not yet have the proper reporting capabilities required to appropriately capture student learning and mastery. Averaging standards and converting mastery to a percentage is not standards-based grading. It's a technological issue, not a standards-based grading issue. Everyone has experienced school. This makes everyone, parents, community members, and business owners, and all experts by the way of their own personal experiences. This leaves educators in a unique position of trying to educate the educated in other industries, as well as our students, on the innovation in our industry. We're trying, but we need listening ears and open minds. The educators at Union Park show up with passion and purpose each day. We are change agents with the focus of doing what's best for our students each and every day. Please consider what taking
Okay. I have heard comments and concerns from various stakeholders group about the methods and validity for all of the surveys being presented. I have decided the most transparent way to move forward is to allow everyone who has collected data to present the results. I do not want any stakeholders to have the impression that I deliberately silence their voice. And after hearing the presentations, I respect everyone's rights to form their own opinion about each of the survey. We're going to go to the survey presentation. I just want to let, I believe Dr. Galligan was going to present grading report, transition, and presentation for this board meeting. We will not be presenting this for this board meeting. If we look at the executive summary, it states no presentation. We're only presenting the data. So if we can have Deer Valley Association, please provide your data.
Good evening, Dr. Finch, President Paperman, and governing board members. My name is Kelly Fisher, and I am the Vice President of the Deer Valley Education Association. And I want to start out, before we talk about the data, I just want to start out letting everyone know that the DVEA has taken a stance of being neutral on this because we represent the voices of our members and not our own opinions in any way, shape, or form. And as you can see by our first question, you're going to see that on the next couple of slides, that the data is very split, and we want to represent everyone's voice on both sides. So we put forth a survey on January 30th, and we had it run until February 3rd at 5 o'clock. We had 651 certified responses. We did put in the email that if you were not a teacher who gave grades, please refrain from taking the survey so that we could get the actual opinions of those who do. And as you can see, 53.5% of this first question, which was, do they implement SBG already? They do not, and 46.5 already do. And if you could go to the next slide, please. The next question we asked was, do you feel that SBG is effective? So 8.8% said yes, they think it's great and best. Their standards meets the standards and meets the needs of their students. And then we had 24.7% say that they think it's effective, but they can see some areas of improvement. And that's sort of the same with everything that we do in education. There's always room for improvement. And then the biggest chunk was no, they think standards-based grading should not be used in Deer Valley. And then another small amount said that they didn't know enough about it to make a decision. So the final question we asked, we left it very open-ended. We wanted to let everyone give an opinion, and I'm going to be very honest. We, as officers, did not even look at the data because we did not want it to skew anything. We just simply sorted it by question and by response and sent it to all of the board members and to Dr. Finch and Dr. Galligan, and let them go through the responses. We had over 100 pages of responses. So there was a lot of opinions in there. And as I close, I just want to say that, again, we are remaining neutral on this, but we are very invested in whatever is best for our students, because that's where we all need to be centered. Thank you.
Thank you. District administration, can you please provide your survey results?
President Paperman. We will start with the teacher survey. So if you will pull that up for us, the teacher survey. CIA 2023 Grading and Reporting Teacher Survey. You're going to talk to us. In the quiet, I think you'll notice it's good that we're in this room
That's
and
not our
not
speakers
outside.
buzzing, that's rain. You see a Noah's Ark go by, make sure you catch it.
President Paperman, board members, we'll start chatting to it until the presentation can come up, and we'll catch up when it pulls up. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Paperman and members of the board and Dr. Finch, we did survey our Phase 1 and Phase 2 teachers, since they are the stakeholders that were involved in implementing standards-based grading practices, as well as the other grading reforms that we've been implementing. So I will just kind of summarize some of those. We sent a lot of the information, and as been mentioned, you can, members of the community can access those through the board reports. But I'm going to, oh, there we go. Okay, very good. Let's go ahead and go forward a little bit. This is just some background information about who responded. We'll stop there with that bottom slide. That was some information about teachers' confidence in implementing and being able to grade students and identifying students at the grade level of a 1, identifying students with their standards level 2, 3, 4, and you can see across the bottom there. All in all, you can see that in the blue bar, that indicates that teachers were quite confident in identifying those grade levels. The red bar is some confidence, but in all of those, all in all, very, very confident. Use yours so it's easier to see. And then on the next slide at the top, we asked the teachers to rate their competence and confidence in utilizing the Power Teacher Pro gradebook. And again, blue indicates a strong level of competence and confidence, and red is at the developing level. But all in all, strong results there. And then there's other information. It was an open-ended question, so lots of comments there. I did somewhat kind of figure out which ones were which topics were highly talked about in those comments. A lot of the comments talked about the need for more direct in-person training, as well as grade scale changes, either teachers talking about not having letter grades, or that they wanted a scale with that they felt had less grade inflation. And then there was some talk about 7 and 8, grade 7 and 8 being on the same scale as K through 6, especially in the K-8 schools. There was some requests for special area teacher assistants, like level C teachers, help in determining which learning progressions or assignments to enter. There's some different comments about that, as well as how to run reports or how to expand the score sheet view in Power Teacher Pro. Okay. And then you'll see at that top slide, that was asking, do you need further support or training with any of the following? So there were several things listed, such as understanding the purpose of grading updates, how to leverage PLC teams, ways to manage behavior outside of grades, how to use PowerTeacher Pro Gradebook, the best practices in setting up PowerTeacher Pro, how to build proficiency rubrics, how to convert MYP IB grades, how to explain grading procedures to parents, how to identify standard learning progressions for grading, and guidance for curriculum documents. And you can see all of them, they were mostly responded with no, which is indicated in the red bars. And then there's a lot of additional comments that we gathered and took to heart. The next survey was for the 7th through 12th grade teachers at the Phase 1 and Phase 2 schools. And I'll quickly go through some of the same slides so you can just do some comparison there. You can see at this bottom slide, or yeah, there we go. One more. There we go. At the bottom slide, very similar to the K-6 teachers. Teachers indicated that they were pretty confident in all of these different aspects of assigning grades. In the next slide at the top, you will see how they rated their competence and confidence in utilizing PowerTeacher Pro Gradebook. Blue, again, is strong competence and confidence. This is about using outcomes in the Canvas book, and it seems that we have very few teachers that are currently using outcomes. It's a process in the gradebook that kind of connects standards to the assignments. So an opportunity there to utilize that. And again, open-ended questions. I did some just listing of what I saw the most comments about. For the 7-12 teachers, I saw quite a few comments about syncing Canvas with PowerSchools, about the grade scale, basically talking about the 60 to 100% is not a very workable scale. Talking about not showing percentages or displaying percentages in the PowerSchool portal. Same as the K-6, having the PowerSchool score sheet expand, and that's a function of the PowerTeacher Pro gradebook that teachers use, and also standards or some very specific recommendations or comments about how standards are grouped in the gradebook and how they might want to see those adapted or changed. This scale is again about needing further support on the components that I listed earlier. And just like K-6, the predominance was no, they didn't feel like they needed as much support in those areas. And then there were comments here too. Lots of comments. Okay. We also surveyed our parents of the Phase 1 and Phase 2 schools. The parents, we divided that survey into two different surveys, one for the K-8 parents and one for the 7-12 parents. I don't know if we have that, but I'll go ahead and speak to it. I'll just hit some highlights. There's a lot of data in here. Okay. One of the questions was about, well, let me go down to the next one. I'm sorry. It's about, there were questions about PowerSchool parent portal, and very pleased to note that in the 7-12 parent survey, that almost 95% of our parents said they know how to access their students' grades in our school. It's great that they can utilize that tool. Were they able to see one meaningful grade per week for each course for their students? The primary response was yes for most courses. The next response, predominance of response was yes for all courses. We had a question about communication they've received from their teacher. And in different aspects of communication, all of those different components or ways of, or things to communicate about were rated as in the very good. It had the most responses for very good. After reviewing your students' final grades for semester 1, did you find the grading scale to be understandable? 72% yes, 19.6% somewhat, and 8.4% no. Open-ended comments on using the Power School Parent Portal and what would make that more clear. Most mentioned topics are around just wanting some new other features so they can gather more information, like including a GPA, assignment percentages, dates, class ranks, and different requests that way. There were several requests about go back, use previous grade scales, or include behaviors. There were comments about Power School and Canvas and having those sync well. And then comments about that requesting that teachers, all teachers, are timely in their reporting. The next question was about, do you feel that removing behaviors from academic grades has had a positive impact on your students' progress? Pretty split, slightly, very slightly more majority to yes. The next question, I believe, is shown in that bottom slide. How well do you think your students' grades reflect your students' mastery of academic standards? On this question, we have almost 71% that responded that the grades were accurate in reflecting their students' mastery of the learning standards. Then you'll see at the top slide, oh my. What is your overall satisfaction level with the updated grading procedures so far? The most responses fell into the satisfied area. The next most fell into the very satisfied, and then from there somewhat dissatisfied, and then about 14.5% were dissatisfied. Lots of additional comments. And then we'll go into the K-12 or K-8, I'm sorry, parent survey. Were you able to see one grade per week? That'll probably be in the next one. Maybe one after that. Okay. Being able to see one grade for each course per week. Predominance of the responses were yes for most courses, and then the next most answered was yes for all courses. Communication, just like 712, pretty strong for teacher communication. At the top slide, you'll see after reviewing your students' final grades for quarter 2, did you find the grading scale to be understandable? And majority answered yes, and 30% were in the somewhat category, with 11.6% saying no. Several comments from teachers, from parents about using the Power School Parent Portal. Some of their most mentioned topics for improving the Power School Parent Portal included number grades or letter grades, not both. There was some confusion between having two, like the numbers for the standards and letters for the course grade. The Power School app, that there be improvements there because the app doesn't show as much information as the actual web-based portal. We have heard from Power School. They have a new release this summer, so we're hoping that does get improved. Printing report cards, either requesting, there's comments about bringing home printed report cards or having the ability to print them from home. And there were some other responses about just making sure all teachers are timely in their reporting. This the next question at the top was about, do you feel that removing behaviors from academic grades has had a positive impact on your child's progress? And in the K-8 survey, the slight majority was for no. For how well do you think your child's grades reflect your child's mastery of the academic standards? Almost 58% were responding, grades do accurately reflect my students' mastery of the learning standards. What is your satisfaction level with the updated grading procedures? The majority let's say 43.1% responded as satisfied, followed by 21.7% in the somewhat dissatisfied, We had 23.2% as dissatisfied and 12% as very satisfied. And then several comments from our parents. Okay. And then finally, we did survey our administrators, and we hadn't done that last year, so we wanted to make sure that we captured that stakeholder group as well. And we've shared those with you. So I'll go ahead and start. The administrators, they were asked, which grading scale do you feel is most effective for standards-aligned grading for grades K through 6? And again, I'm sorry, this is for phase 1 and 2 administrators. In that question, we had the vast majority answered the 0 to 4 or 1 to 4 scale they felt was the most appropriate for the K6 grade level. When referring to, I'm going to skip that one. Rank the order of importance of these elements and effectiveness of accuracy of grading and reporting. In this area, and there's a list of them, I don't know if we'll get those, but I will highlight that the reporting grades for standards and reporting grades using proficiency levels and rubrics were rated the most important for grading practices in our district. In thinking about your campus professional development plans, where do you think that your school is currently at? We had a variety there. That's what's sitting at the top. And then I'm going to, there's some other survey data that had some input pieces. We had some questions about, okay, there we go. It says, describe your school's process and procedures for reassessment. And most of our, well, the majority responded that, and this was open-ended, so we didn't have a rating system here. This was just some of the comments that came forward. Several of the comments, 66%, responded about students that need to complete an assignment, test corrections, reteaching, that there's other steps this student must complete in order to earn that opportunity for a reassessment. There were comments about the length of time students are given to complete those processes in order to earn that opportunity. And then that in many of our schools, or some of our schools, there's some variance by grade level, just based on the developmental level of the students. And then the bottom survey is just enhancements that they'd like to see with PowerSchool to help assist in reforming grading and reporting and making sure that's most effective for schools and educators and parents and students. And then it's open. Do you want to go through phase 3? Okay. And we'll go ahead and go through a little bit of phase 3 administrator data. When talking about some of the important aspects of grading, we had a lot of our phase 3 administrators remarked that removing behavior from academics grades was one of the most important aspects of effective grading. For the phase 3 administrators, which grading scale do you feel is the most effective for standards aligned grading for 7-12? We had the predominance of responses fall into the 50 to 100% scale. For referring to, well, skip that one. I'm going to go on to the information about describing your school's processes and procedures for reassessment. Pretty similar. There's some variance by grade levels, that students must do some other work before they can even earn that opportunity, and some similar timelines for students as with the phase 1 and 2 schools. Then if we go down to professional development, there we go, that's the top one. We can see there's some variance in where schools are at in delivering their professional development in order to prepare their teachers for moving forward with grading. And then several open comments, you can see there. And then finally, we did ask our Phase 3 administrators what is their, if they were going to assess their readiness level for their campuses. We had, as you can see, there's the percentage of where those schools, where those administrators ranked their readiness for their campus levels.
President Paperman, that concludes the results. You did receive this in the board update on Friday and yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Fisher, can you please provide your survey results?
Prior to Mrs. Fisher doing that, I've got a question. Individually, we are the board members. Individually, we are private citizens. So if we are going to use an individual board members survey, did we invite the public who may also have done a survey to include their survey? Because this was not a 5-person voted on survey. Second part, there's that. Then there's also the fact that I don't go on the page, but it was a private page that the survey was on, so I'm not really quite sure, who would have had access to it. And then in Ms. Fisher's own words, it says that it was for her own. Here we go. My survey is for my information. I paid for it, so on and so forth. So I'm not quite sure why that would be, how it's possible that we're including this as some kind of foundational information to make an educated vote from when it's a closed survey that we have no idea
Mrs.
how many
Fisher-
times anyone took the
We
survey.
can make it my comments then. We can make it my comments then. I'm not going to play games. I'm not going to pretend.
Oh, I'm not playing games. I asked a question and it hasn't been answered. How is it that a private citizen gets their survey put into an executive session as a foundational tool to make a decision on such a huge
I don't know. I
issue?
imagine she runs for office and then she takes her job serious and actually wants the input from the community.
Please don't clap, because you have
Okay,
taken
we're
away
gonna continue.
what 5 board members do.
Which
One
is what
board
you've been
member is
doing
the same thing
nonstop.
as anyone sitting in, well, not the cabinet.
Mrs. Fisher, she was working with parents doing this survey, so there were a lot of parents that were working with Mrs. Fisher.
They were requested. They requested it.
Okay.
As a board member and also a parent at DVUSD, I did not receive about this. I heard it from a parent who emailed our board about what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea there was a
Well,
survey out there.
That
And as
would
a
be most
parent,
likely as a parent, you're involved in the one closed parent group that throws out every parent who does not agree with specific individuals in that
I'm
group.
also a member of my school's page, my Union Park page, Barry Goldwater page.
Same group.
I'm a member of several
Right.
pages.
And it's the same group. I don't really care if we put up my survey results. I really don't
Okay.
care at this point. The
I got
reality
many
is-
concerns from survey results. It's not only Mrs. Fisher, even the district survey results. I had a lot of staff saying that they did not receive it. So this is not just, this is why I decided to have all of the surveys to be presented.
I understand that you're saying that you are allowing all other surveys, but prior to this meeting or prior to 4 days ago, when this was put into an executive summary or on, as part of the board documents, there were no other members of Deer Valley Unified School District's parents
that knew that they were too allowed to have their surveys
They were
used as
told,
foundational.
I requested DVE8, I requested
No. I'm
parent survey,
saying
the parents to
parents.
also do
Oh,
their survey.
I am not talking about associations, nor am I talking. I'm
She's talking
speaking.
about whoever's talked to
I'm
her between the
speaking.
time she said she wouldn't be here to the time that she is here, because it was all a plan to put it off.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
I'm still speaking though.
We need to move on for time's sake, please.
Awesome.
Mrs. Fisher, can you please provide your survey results?
The survey results, the reason the survey was even done was because I had two things. I had parents contact me and say, we just want our opinion and we're not. And then I had teachers say, I'm not comfortable with the DVA survey because it asks me the question of whether or not I'm a member. And they sent me a screenshot of that one question. So I said, fine. And I put this out. It was not just put out to a private page. It was put out to every page that anybody could find to put it on. In fact, it was put out on the Union Park page, a Park Union page of the closed parent group that excludes everyone else. And the individual who put it on was so harassed that they removed their post. Within the first day, and I actually left that, I was going to remove it from the results because it used the F word so many times, including the email of "Go F yourself, Kim." So yes, I am very. I assume that page is very proud of Mr. Beckman's entertainment. Oh, he names himself in it, so don't say wow. This is ridiculous. The results show what they show, and what they show is that my survey was answered by everyone. I have teachers, parents, administrators, community members, students, and then other. There is a clear 59% thinks it's a bad idea. 24% thinks it's a great new tool. 16% is other. And that's a mix of between great new tool and get rid of it. If you can go to the next slide. When we break it down to, is it in your school? Because I wanted to, one of the big things that was said here was, well, it's just because they don't understand it. If they understood it, because teachers have told me that they think it's wonderful. So 63% of the teachers that, or teachers or parents that responded, or administrators, it is in their school. And then we started going down to whether they thought it was damaging, useful, and I tried to pick opposites: good, bad, useful, damaging, whatever. And it's the results speak for themselves. Go ahead and go to the next slide. I asked about the impact to students, because at the end of the day, it's not about us, it's about students. And overall, again, it comes out to negative and damaging. Helps provide true assessment. A large percentage thought that is in fact false. Let's go to the next one. Shows clear data of proficiency. This is one of the things that was my concern, because I don't know. For me, it seems too opinion-based versus factual-based, because there's not a fact in what the decision is being made on, in my opinion. Because if there's a fact, I just haven't been able to see it. And 71% also say false for that. Do they trust how it was implemented? 76% say false. They do not trust how it was implemented. Go ahead and go to the next. What they wanted the district to do. 65% want them to stop and return to traditional grading. Then I asked, the grading scale should be, because there's the talk about 0 to 100, 50 to 100, something else, another combination. 57% felt that it should be 0 to 100 because there is an expectation of proficiency and competency and being able to actually perform in what they're doing. So we can go to the next slide. Question 11 was all just comments. I did provide them, whatever, so I just, same thing as DVEA did. I just basically cut comments and put them there. The question 12 is, do you feel secure in providing your opinion? Whether they want to do it privately, publicly. Honestly, I just got to get a pulse on the feel of what people who are responding. Final is SPG is. And then this is just for whether it's okay, because one of the things that I've heard is it's okay for this grade, but really not for this grade. They don't mind it in certain grades because it's the way it's always been anyways, with the S versus the S plus and that type of stuff. And I've heard the other. So this is the opinion of the survey, is that it is not okay anywhere. It's 50%. The others are a mix. And then the next one. There should be one constant grading scale, consistent across the district. Overwhelmingly, 90% felt that there should be a consistency across the district because we're a unified district. We can go on to the breakdown results. Does he have the teachers and the parents? Okay, yeah, the teachers and the parents. Okay, and to break it down just a hair because of it's in my school or it's not in my school. A respondent of all the teachers who responded, it is roughly 50% that felt it was a bad idea, and around 50%, well, 45%, 44% thought it was a great new tool. When you look at the teachers with SPG in their school, in their school, these are the teachers who are teaching in their school. It's almost 50-50 that the teachers who are having implemented already feel it's a bad idea. To me, that was telling. I don't know any of these teachers personally. This is what they have stated. This is their input. Next slide. And then these are the comments, and they are all online, so you can read them as you want. It tells the yes or no is whether or not it's in their school. And it's similar to the comments that we've received across the board. Okay, and then the parent survey, which is just a breakdown of the parents. While he switches over to the parents, I'll go ahead and let you know that of the 9 administrators that replied, all 9 like it. All 9 think it's a great new tool, and they all liked it. So that's of the administrators. I didn't break it down because it was 100%. Of the 5 students that responded, it was 100%. They hated it and they wanted it out of their school. And they were all high school students who felt it was going to damage their future. When we hit the parents, this is all parents. So when you take all parents, it's roughly 2/3 to almost 3/4 that think it's a bad idea. When you take it to the parents that it's in their school, it's pretty telling, in my opinion. The parents are still, this is their responses. It's just their responses. And their comments are right below. Anybody can see them. As for the board, I did not do this for the board. I did do this for me, and I did this for my constituents. Both the parents that have been contacting me and the teachers that have been contacting me that simply wanted a voice. And this is what they've asked me for, and this is what I've provided for them. You can take it as valid data or not. Dr. Finch is correct that if you want to have an exactly, you're going to if I want to tell you exactly who I'm going to target, and this is who I'm going to target, and I want this person's opinion, I'm going to get accurate data from that small population. That's not what this is. This is not pigeon-toed to one small population. It was open to anybody who wanted to take it, anybody within our district. And this is information on how it's the pulse. That's all it is. So don't take it or take it as you will. For me, it was very telling, and it was very informative. And the fact that parents were willing to share it, even in closed groups where they knew they would be attacked for it, that was very telling for me as well, because it tells me that our district is being torn apart by a small group of what I have I have actually called monsters at one point, because monsters destroy stuff. Just take it as you wish. This is the results of the survey, and it is all posted online. You can take the time to read it if you wish.
Okay, we're going to move on. I know there's already been a lot of discussions on previous board meetings. We also have a few study sessions. Now we have the survey presentations. Governing boards, do you have any questions? And
I do. Go ahead, Paul.
okay.
Well, I don't want to drain this because we've been doing this for like 8 meetings worth now, but so that the community knows and everybody else in the room, I've spent the last 2 weeks in the schools. I've been to no less than 7 schools, some of them using SPG in some manner or form, and some of them not. And, you know, we all of us, at every school I went to, I had this conversation with everybody, and everybody could agree that the mindset, and when we use the term mindset, we mean specifically the professional development piece, the PLCs, the things that help the teachers teach. Everybody found value in that. But when it came to the grading, there's difficulty there. It's not being executed the way that it's intended. And the community and society as a whole is not ready for it. The board has received emails from people who've done their due diligence, reaching out to colleges. And the colleges do not accept the standards that we're setting. They don't accept the grading. They don't accept the practices that we're setting. And honestly, at the end of the day, the community is going to dictate which way this goes. But I want to caution the board that whichever direction it is that we go, if we decide that we need to stop SPG in its tracks, we need to be careful how we do that, because when the last board flipped the switch back to letter grades, the motion was so convoluted that they took letter grades all the way down to kindergarten. Now, I don't know about everybody else in this room, but I looked at my report cards over the last couple of weeks from growing up, and K through 3 were all basically just meeting standards. Check marks, pluses, minuses, as to whether or not I was meeting standards. I didn't start seeing 1s, 2s, 3s, and so on until I got to 4th grade and on up into high school, and then you started seeing A, Bs, and Cs. So we also have IB programs in early years, right? So the middle years program, those programs, when they were introduced to the district, at least in the district that my child attended the IB, they run off of a modified standards-based grading system. So we need to understand, and this is just, it's educational purposes for people in the audience that may not know this information that I want to share with the board, that if we take this vote, well, we're going to take a vote, and we stop this, we need to understand that we need to have conversation past that. So if the motion is what it is, ending on July 31st, we need to understand that before we get to that point, we need to have some more discussion on how we don't end up cutting our nose off to spite our face with our accelerated programs, what that looks like for the early years in our elementary schools. You know, so I just want to throw that out there. And I have one question that's been bugging me since last year when I was sitting out there observing all the information that was given is what was the why for moving towards this? I saw all the information, the graphs that were given to the board to digest before they asked everything to go back to expanded bands, as we say. And what we saw was that A students decreased and F students decreased, and everybody went to the middle. So are we looking at standards-based grading because it's a way to make sure that we don't leave children behind? Are we looking at standards-based grading because it is a better way to teach, or I'll be painfully honest right here, and I'm probably going to upset a few people, but what I gathered by my time in the field, visiting with everybody, and I just want to thank everybody that took time for me. You guys are amazing. I want you to know that your campuses are amazing. But what I gathered by talking to people that were actually using it is that standards-based grading is almost more for the educators than for the students, because it allows them to become better teachers than they might have otherwise been. I've seen a lot of educators find a lot of value in the processes that are implemented with standards-based grading, and that's amazing. So if I was going to shoot from the hip on this, I would say that the mindset probably needs to continue to exist when it comes to professional development, but that when grading, we need to be very careful how we craft that moving forward, or else we're going to have a lot of unintended consequences like the last board did when they blew it up last year. So I just wanted to put that out there for thought.
Any other questions, board members?
I'd like to respond to Paul.
Oh, Ms. Fisher?
Just because I would like to respond to Mr. Carver. I think you are 100% accurate in what you're saying. I didn't have a hand necessarily in the motion. And in fact, I kind of pushed back on several points when I saw it. However, I do, since it was brought, since I've seen it, since I've had several discussions on, okay, well, is that the best motion? Is this the best motion? Would it change it this way, change it that way, change it 1,000 different ways? And the point you made, that how convoluted that last, honestly, we left this boardroom thinking that we had stopped standards-based grading in it and we weren't going to do it. And that wasn't the case because it was so convoluted. Part of the reason I did support eventually supported the motion as it was written is because it stops it, period, done. It's not happening. Then it gives them between now and July to say, hey, board, this is the area that's really important, and it's important for this reason. And we can then make, smaller adjustments versus having a convoluted thing that I don't think anybody appreciated. One of the comments that I've seen, I don't know whether I saw it on my survey or someone else's survey, was that just throwing grades onto the numbers did not help. It made it worse. It made it a problem. And so the thing that I finally made me support this motion as written is because it doesn't stop any potential conversation, for there are issues here, there are issues there. Because honestly, I was thinking, let's end it today. Let's just be done. This is silliness that we are just going round and round. And then there were multiple teachers that pointed out to me what a disaster that would have been. I appreciate them because I was going to ask that same question. But we have several months to bring that forward. In this motion just simply puts the question to rest, that this is where we're at this moment in time, as of July 31st. The expectation is that it's done and it's gone. Now, if there's other areas that we need to adjust, we have that many months to talk about them. And I think that's the biggest implementation problem with this whole thing, was that it was done to the district, not with the district. And I think that conversation piece is going to be vital for our parents, our teachers, our students, and it may not be good for all students or all grade levels. So I appreciate everything you said, Paul, and I agree with you.
Stephanie?
Yeah, I want to talk about when we say all students who were getting A's are received in the last 2 years a decline in their grades, or all students don't like this. That's just, I'm sorry, I want to speak as a parent right now. I have 2 children in the district. I have one at Barry Goldwater High School. She's a sophomore, so she's highly active in the IB program there. I've talked with her about standard-based grading because she also attended Norterra Canyon when the IB middle school years program was brought in. She was the first group to go through in sixth grade. So she did sixth, seventh, and eighth with that program, and then went on to Barry Goldwater. When I asked her, about standard-based grading a year ago, because we were talking about it, and she's like, "I just don't understand what the big deal is. It's not that complicated." And it's from because she knows, and you don't know what you don't know. And I'm hearing that from a lot of pushback from people who haven't implemented it or heard from somebody who had and they push back. But I can speak as a parent that it's I'm going to go into my other child too, because I live in like two different worlds as a parent. I live in the world of my IB sophomore high school student, and I live in the world of a second grader at Union Park who is on an IEP, receives services, and the school provides a wonderful job of doing that. What I have found in standard-based grading with her is that the support she needs and they are able to use it, and it kind of fills in all the gaps. So as a mom, and I get her, I think Miss Johnson actually sent us an email and gave us examples of some of the quizzes and tests and things. I can go in there and I can see the standard that they're working towards, and I can see if she got a 1 on it or a 2 on it, she might have gotten it in one area, then maybe something higher in another area. That allows me to see what areas she needs to work on and what she is successful at. And I imagine that, and I can't speak for special education teachers because I've only been a first grade teacher, but I would think that that would be extremely helpful for her special education teachers to see exactly where she's struggling. And I therefore think it would be for all students to see exactly where they are struggling. So I think it's important when we talk about this motion that's been brought up, if we decide to go right back to traditional, what happens to our IB programs? What happens to our schools who are implementing it successfully and seeing so much success with their students? This is not thought out enough to be voted on this evening.
Thank you. I would like
Ms.
to.
Pickering, can I?
Miss Dr. Finch.
Yeah. I'm going to give you the traditional consequences speech here. This is what I do every time we get to start making motions that have a long-range impact. Mr. Carver kind of hit it a little bit, but the point I want to make is I'm not 100% sure what this motion means, and I'm sure all 5 of you would have 5 different ideas about what this motion means. Does this mean, as you pointed out, cutting the IB program? Does it mean we're not going to use rubrics anymore? Does it mean we're not going to do standards based teaching education? Does it mean we're going to stop all PD until July 31st? That's the 5 off the top of my head. Whenever boards make motions from the dais, it's usually ends up being convoluted, as we illustrated. Well, the last board, trying to help, made a motion that 5 different people thought it was something different when they left the room. And so I think that will exactly happen again. What I always recommend to boards, again, you can take my advice or not, is to punt it back to administration to fix these XYZs, whatever things you want worked on, because it sounds like you're aiming for July anyway. That way you can vote on a plan, for lack of a better word, plan A, plan B, plan C. If you don't do it that way, you will end up having unintended consequences like we did the last time when we made a motion from the dais, because I'm not 100% sure what you're actually putting on here. If that means just the grading scale, or do you mean, or standard-based grading in general? So if somebody could explain that to me, that'd be helpful too.
And it's a little bit of a moment of irony. Someone who I've known for, I don't know, 8 years, 10 years, since 2014, told me that that this was the clearest motion they've seen, and that if it is not followed, it would be blatant insubordination. And
So could you explain it to me?
they said that the response would be, I don't understand it. Can you explain it to me?
Can you explain it to me?
Absolutely.
Can you explain to the group here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is a very clear, like I said, motion. I did not write it, but it is very clear.
Well, what does it
is
mean, I guess I'm asking?
Traditional grading. Our scale is going
That's
to be
not what it
0
says,
to
though.
100. Yes, it does.
No, it says get rid of
Mrs.
SPG.
Fisher, can you please read the motion?
So you're just talking about the scale?
Nope. Standards-based grading. That the governing board approve to replace standards-based grading with traditional grading. We all know what traditional grading is. 0 to 100 scale, percentages, and A through F. So it's the same grading scale we had as children. It's the same grading scale that's been going for the last, I don't know, 100 years, where it's real simple. I
So the
turn in
motion-
my math paper.
So the motion is about the scale.
It's both. It's the scale. It's traditional gradings.
But traditional also means kindergarten, first and second don't receive A through F. So would you say that when you say traditional, they're going to go back to them having standards in those grades?
If that's traditional
This
grading
doesn't
is.
clarify that, so I was wondering
what
the
traditional
definition of
grading is.
traditional grading.
So
Another question is,
are we cutting our Goldwater's IB program then? Because
Yeah.
we can't have that program
Yeah,
with the
and
traditional.
Norterra Canyon, they can't have their IB program either.
no, IB is not state law. So my other question is, Barry Goldwater I think since 2006, 8, whatever it was, their whole campus took the model of IB onto the campus. So should they now switch?
If there is an issue with specifically IB, we have from now till the end of July to resolve it.
I'm not talking about IB.
But this
The
is very
problem
black and white.
we want to screw up the whole district so that we don't mess up one program or one
No, I'm not
school.
talking about a program. You're talking about more than one school.
It's not going to
What?
affect the IB
It doesn't matter.
program.
Because,
Okay.
there's going to be sides here that people aren't going to be happy with and people that are. But if we make this, this is just too vague to me. Because
It's not
it
vague,
doesn't.
It's very specific.
No, it's too vague. It does not say anything about our IB programs.
Okay, my daughter attended Ironwood High School IB program. She went to Barry Goldwater High School with standard-based grading, and it was very confusing with her. Her grades were not how they were in Ironwood High School. So we're going to go back to traditional grading, which means that we've been doing this in Deer Valley for a long time.
So Kim just said that we would revisit IB, and you're just saying that it's too hard and that we're all going to go back traditional.
This is why we're going to be putting a transitional plan where there's going to be collaboration with the teachers, the district, and the parents. Because you know what? These are the parents' children.
I am a parent of Deer Valley children. Yes, I agree.
These are the parents' children. The teachers, many teachers have stated to me, this is not working for their students because
they're
not earning the grade that they deserve.
I call for the vote. I call for the vote.
So let's move on to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
As soon as it pops up.
All that opposed say nay.
Nay.
Aye.
Mine didn't pop up. Okay, aye.
Motion passes 3-2. Let's move on with the agenda.
Okay, so we're going to move on to discussion item.
Madam President, just 1 second. I don't know if this is out of order. If it is, let me know.
Okay.
I think that we need to commit to whether it's a work session or something to get resolution to everything that was just brought up, because we cannot leave tonight with it the way that it is right now.
Well, this is why the motion we have until,
Right, but
Yes.
I want
requesting
to,
a study session?
I am requesting whichever gets us to be able to talk back and forth to each other, because the study session we had the other day didn't give us the opportunity to do that. So if that's a work session or study
Do you
session,
mind if I get clarification? So do you want a study session with the board and administration talking? Or do you want a study session with community input as well and staff input?
all the above.
Okay. Because they're
Okay.
two different things.
Okay.
If we do just a study session, then it can be a conversation with us and it can be a conversation with the public. If we do a work session, it's us only. The public can come and watch, but they don't input.
I think the work session would suit us because, as everybody has said over the last few months, they've given presentations. We know everybody's point of view. And I think we've discussed the highlights, and everybody's going to have plenty of time between now and the work session to send us their emails,
Okay.
something.
So you're requesting a work
I'm
session.
requesting a work session, and we can't wait till the summer. It needs to be some month and a half, if at all possible.
Okay.
So
Sheila,
we
can you
know
put
what
that
to
on
do.
on our list to find a date for
So
a study
why are
session?
we
Or-
having a work session and after this vote? Why are we not having the work session and then table this vote
he's
to
talking
another
about, are you
time?
talking about the transition of the work session?
I understand that, but we just voted on something that was very plain to bring traditional grading back. It was very, that's what it is.
Right now,
Although the definition of
we're
traditional
looking at
grading is very skewed because it depends on what grade level you're talking about and all kinds of things like this.
Well,
But
Mr. Cobb
why
is
are we
trying to
having
say-
a work session? Why are we having a work session after this vote? Why don't we have a work session now and then vote?
We voted and it's
We
done.
voted.
At this point, we have a request for a work session. If you can get it
Yeah.
on our list so that we can find a date.
And can also please advise in the district, please communicate with the teachers and the parents. I don't want this to come back just like standard-based grading. I didn't have a voice. My child is getting hurt with the grades. Please include DVEA. Please, DVEA, work with the district. The parent association, please work with the district with the transitional plan. We're gonna move on.
Yeah, well, he's requested that we discuss the whole topic and any potential transitional plans that are necessary. So that's the purpose of the work. And then what comes out of there will eventually find its way back here.
I just would have liked to have that discussion
Okay.
prior to voting.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 9. Discussion. Item 8, Governing Board Policy, BHC Board Communication with Staff Members. The reason I submitted the Governing Board Policy, BHC, for discussion is that it appears that there are currently conflicting interpretations. For example, I was locked out of my computer on January 6th and unable to access the meeting agenda. I attempted to reach out to IT department to resolve this issue. Initially, the IT department agreed to help me, but then I was informed by the superintendent's secretary that I was violating policy and needed to contact her. At the meeting January 10, district employees were still unable to fix my computer. At the agenda review on January 19, the superintendent's secretary was finally able to fix the problem quickly. When I expressed disbelief that it took them 13 days to reestablish my computer access, I was told that IT department did not want to help me due to comments I made about administrative pay at a previous board meeting and that I called them 10 times, which was also not true. I contacted a current board member and 2 former board members, and none of them were aware of this policy or had encountered this problem. The superintendent secretary stated that the former board members have lied to me regarding policy BHC, which prohibits the board members from contacting IT. The superintendent followed up with an email stating that he and another board member have had discussions about contacting DVUSD employee about work tasks and the need to direct all board concerns directly to him. My concern about this policy is that the superintendent's interpretation is extremely broad and is being used to prohibit any communication between the board members and employees for any reason, unless it goes through the superintendent to approve. There needs to be a balance between the board having the ability to speak to employees, being respectful and not interfering with the district's operation. Using this policy to prevent me from taking my computer to the closest ID department to get it unlocked seems to be overreach. I believe abuse of this policy will prevent board members from effectively fulfilling their duties to serve the voters that elected them. The superintendent should not have the ultimate power to forbid all communication and does not come through him. If the current policy does allow this level of control, can we abolish or reward it? I would like to know if any other board members share my concern. If so, how could we move forward to address them?
Can I get some clarification on something? We are elected by the community. We are elected, so we're not considered employees of Deer Valley Unified School District, correct? So why would we be using Deer Valley School Board or our school resources that are intended for employees of DVUSD? I would not go to I wouldn't go to ask them if I was having problems because that's not what their job is to do. My other question is that when we log into board docs, I was here that on that first meeting when you couldn't get logged into board docs. You can access board docs from any computer. So what we discovered, because I did it, I was there, I was present here, and I saw that it was a password issue. So you just needed to reset your password.
It wasn't a password issue.
I was actually here when Sheila was getting you set up because she was making, it was my first board meeting, so she was making sure I was like logged in and doing everything.
It doesn't take 13 days to fix a computer.
Well, if you can't
So the
log
point
in,
is,
it's going to give you the
that
same
we're
problem.
looking at this policy. I brought it up in a previous board meeting. I had a lot of staff that they're afraid to even if they go to the chain of command, afraid to contact board members because apparently when I went through that, I got a text message right away because, I contact someone from IT to get help to fix my computer. Whether we have like a district policy police that has eyeballs everywhere that we cannot even ask for help or a question.
As an
I went
employee,
to
you submit
Sheila
a
and
ticket.
I asked Sheila and she couldn't help me, so I went to IT and I called them.
And then you
to
submitted a
fix-
ticket prior?
To fix my computer.
There is a
So
protocol.
the question is that this policy, if as a board member, if I'm being put through this, what's happening with our staff? That's another concern that I have, Mrs. Fisher.
I think we need a little bit more structure when because this is becoming a matter of argument. If you look at the date of when this was adopted, it was adopted back in 2017. And it was adopted with the intention that we would, and back then we also had an AMG that said that we would inform the superintendent's office that we were going to be contacting an employee, not that we were not allowed to speak to him. And that's why we have the paragraph here that says the board welcomes the opinion and other input from employees of the public and the public in general on all matters. The structure noted is for official business. I will say, there's multiple present and current and past board members here, and I will say that I just simply let the superintendent's office know, hey, I talked to IS&T, who should I call? They gave me a name, I contacted them, and they transferred my iPad to the new iPad. They fixed my computer, they addressed issues. We didn't have this issue. And the biggest problem I have with it is that not the policy itself, because I think the policy is actually really clear. I think it has been manipulated to serve a purpose, and it's unfortunate because it's also arbitrary. Some board members, they can pretty much go anywhere they wish in this district, talk to who they want and do what they want, and it's free reign. You have other board members who are told, you are not to speak to an employee without my explicit permission, and I have it in writing. And then we have a board member who is in a struggle. Now is it the password? Is it this? Is it that? I will tell you, I sat at agenda review while they did it, and I almost think it was somewhat either the keyboard or nerves of people typing wrong, because both, Ms. Taylor typed it, Ms. Paperman typed it. They did it multiple times typing it. And so either we were at the point where it was like, okay, we're going to open a Word doc and we're going to cut and paste. So there's no possible wrong. And then it happened correct. So could it be a keyboard failure? Absolutely could have been, but we wouldn't know. There wasn't an IT person there to check.
But board docs is outside of our system.
This wasn't Board Docs. This was her portal. And the portal was the problem, because Ms. Taylor resets her Board Docs and she could access that. For, right.
I did not forget my password. I've been in the board for 2
Okay,
years.
wait.
Okay, we need to move on. Okay.
No. Let's go backwards, because everyone needs to be able to hear the whole conversation. I'm a board member and I can't even hear what's going on over there. This is an open meeting. Everyone gets to hear what's going on. So could we back up?
Actually, Ms. Taylor is the board secretary as well as the superintendent secretary, and she was talking about the about
She
the
cannot
use of
hear
the
you. Can you
password.
speak louder?
Yeah, she could explain the situation.
Okay. So I believe it's like a two-part issue. It initially started back, I believe, in October. There were 3 board meetings in a row where Ms. Paperman did, in fact, have an issue with her login to Board Docs, which has nothing to do with IS&T. She came over to my laptop. I had logged in so she could enter her a new password. Worked just fine the rest of the meeting. The next meeting, again, she couldn't log in. I did remind her, because she does have a different username for her Novell and GroupWise than Board Docs. That's completely different. Not controlled, again, by IS&T. And so I reminded her, are you using the correct username? And then she said, oh, okay. Oh, now it's working. I'm not sure what happened. I believe she was just typing in the wrong username. Happens. User error happens all the time. But again, not an IS&T issue. It was a password issue and username that you were not correctly. It could very well be a keyboard issue. But I offered to get a completely new device for her, which she said yes. Within a day or two, she said, never mind, I don't need it. To my knowledge, she's still using the same laptop with not another single issue since. But there were 3 board meetings in a row where you did have a username or password issue with Board Docs. And that was my understanding. And when I was contacted by IS&T, when you reached out to them directly, I was actually in a meeting with Mr. Carver at the time. And I had to stop our meeting because my phone was blowing up. They said, why is she contacting us about Board Docs? So I said, I text her, I excused myself from Mr. Carver and said, Ms. Paperman, please call me ASAP. You're contacting IS&T, which is not correct. You're not following board policy, because again, this had nothing to do with IS&T. As you know, I reset your password for you 3 times in a row, and that was the issue at that time.
Okay, so once again, Mrs. Fisher was there. You tried to even change the password. You couldn't even with the new password get into the computer. So there was more going on with the computer. But the point is that when I called you, that I need to get an IT to look at this computer because I have a board meeting to look at my board reports. So, and I let you know, and then I call IT, and then IT said, oh, I can't because the district said that because of some policy, I cannot go to the closest IT to get my computer fixed. So my point is that as a board member, I feel that my hands are tied, that I cannot go If I have an issue with computer technology, I cannot go because of a board policy that's stopping me because of according to the superintendent, everything needs to go through him.
Yeah, I think you're on the right trail. My job is obviously to help you be successful. And when you come to me with any kind of problem, my goal is to direct you to the person that can help you the most. In this case, it was Miss Taylor because it was related to board docs. So that is part of the reason that you mentioned too, using district resources wisely. Why would I send you to the highest person in the district on ISNT to fix a password? That doesn't make sense. So whenever board members come to me with a problem, information they need, et cetera, that's my role, is to direct you to the right spot. If board members have access, if you want to use unfettered access or ability to direct employees to give them A, B, C, and D from a service perspective, they may have been given the opposite direction from me a month ago to do this instead, or they might be on a project. So that's why the powers are separated. It's so we can get better service to you, and B, those employees are accountable to me. Unfortunately, that's how it's set up. And we could bring an attorney in to let you know how this is set up. And this is the way it is in every district in the nation, by the way, not just Deer Valley.
Absolutely not. That
could
is
I-
not.
Can you give me an example of one district? I'll just take one.
Absolutely not. Has this been used to help us be successful?
Yeah, I direct you to the most common
No.
person. Sheila was the one that could help her.
I'm sorry, but this is not
I'm
a
sorry to
board-
cut everybody off. Could I ask a question? Could we move this to the retreat? Because we're just kind of,
Yeah.
this is like
I just want to make
recess,
it.
and we're just
we can,
throwing
But I
rocks
want
at
to
each
make
other.
it clear that this was not a board docs issue. This is a policy issue. It will come to that meeting because it has not just been used here. Like I said, when I took seat over 2 years ago and was going to do it, what you new board members have done, which is meet with cabinet members, I was told I am explicitly banned from speaking to them without explicit permission from Dr. Finch. And this is the policy he claims to
Not
have used
true.
for it. Absolutely true, and you did it in writing.
I would love to see that.
I'll bring it to
Bring it.
bring it to the retreat. So this has been the manipulations are happening, and it's gotten to the point of out of control. So this will definitely come back. I don't believe that the answer is Ms. Paperman is 100% right or Ms. Sheila is 100% wrong or whatever. But the problem is that this policy is a problem and it does need to be addressed because it's being misinterpreted from the way it was adopted. And I was at that meeting when it was adopted and I believe it's recorded so we could even watch it.
Yeah, I would
Okay,
actually
we're going to
recommend
move on
watch it.
to 10 preview item. That's going to go to the retreat. So, okay. Our first preview item is preview 2023-2024 DVUSD pathway calendar. For that, we go to Dr. Galligan. Do you have a presentation for this?
President Paperman, members of the board, I present to you, as we do each year, the 2023-24 Pathways Calendar. You will notice that we are running a session in July, and then you can see the other sessions through the year, and another summer session in June. This follows the calendar that we used this current year. This is a preview item, and we'll bring it for action at the next board meeting. Thank you.
Any questions? Our next preview item is B, recommended contract language for certified administrative exam and deputy superintendents for the 2023-2024 school year. For that, we go to Mrs. Muffin.
Good evening, President Paperman and Governing Board members. Let me get situated here. Okay, we have two items that I'm going to be reviewing with you this evening, back to back, and they are connected to one another. So I will be spending less time on this agenda item and more time on the policy recommendation. So to begin with the contract language first, we have three different types of contracts that we ask the governing board to approve every single year. We also take our contract language to our attorneys to review, and the reason that we do that is that if, they are knowledgeable of any significant legislative changes that could be occurring or trends, and they review our contracts and make sure that they are aligned with any of those changes. This year, there are no changes. With the changes that you do see recommended in each contract type are really for the purposes of consistency from contract to contract. If we noticed that there was a clause in one type of contract and it applied to the others, we made sure that that was consistent across and that the language that was used was as consistent as possible as well. It is important to note that the exempt contracts, administrative exempt contracts, and deputy, which also fall in that category, some of the language is very different because statutorily, what drives what we do with exempt employees is different than what drives what we do with our certified employees. So that's why you see those that look a little bit different, the certified contract look a little bit different. Another question that often comes up with contracts too is we propose 3 contract types, but we have so many different types of employees in our system that are on contract. So for example, we could have an administrator that is a 10-month administrator and another one that is 12 months. So an example of that would be a principal that works 10 months is a K-8 principal. A principal that works 12 months is a high school principal, but both receive the same contract language. The top of the contract reads differently. The time frame that they are assigned to work looks different. You'll see the same thing with certified contracts. Some of our certified staff are 9-month, while some are 10-month. And so that should provide some clarification for you there. What I do want to point out that is different in these contracts is the resignation section on each type. Within the resignation section, we now have a clause in there that states, should the board adopt a policy prior to or while this contract is in effect that requires the payment of liquidated damages for employees who resign, abandon their positions, or otherwise fail to honor the full term of the contract, the employee shall be subject to said policy. Now, currently, DVUSD does not have a liquidated damages clause in the contract. This also would not require liquidated damages to be paid unless the board were to approve a policy. And that's something that we are bringing forward for your consideration today. So I will pause there before I move to that policy, if there are any questions about what we are recommending in language.
Any questions, board members?
I don't have any questions now. This is going to take a little bit to read. If you could go to the next, that would be awesome for me.
No problem. Okay. Gail, can I have the clicker? Okay, so we'll go to the next item, and the next item is policy GCQC. And this is the governing board policy that pertains to resignation of professional support staff members. Historically, this policy for us has been very short, and you'll see that with the changes to the attachment, a small paragraph, and now we are proposing some pretty detailed language for your consideration. So on this slide, you'll see that these are the key changes that we are recommending with this policy. So liquidated damages would be applied for any employee that chooses to not fulfill their contractual obligation. You'll see in this language that we are proposing that the employee that does not fulfill their obligation would be paying an amount of $1,500. It's important to note that it is not a penalty fee, rather it is money paid for damages that are caused by their exit in an untimely fashion. Third, that the renewed employees that are renewed and not newly hired, there would be a tiered approach, and I'll explain that later in today's presentation. And there are reasons why an employee may request that that fee be waived. So our current process, if an employee resigns before fulfilling their contractual obligation, you're familiar with HR changes. On HR changes, an employee that's contracted is listed in two ways. Either we are supporting their resignation and we are recommending as administration to you that you approve their resignation because it is an allowable reason. In other that a reason that I will list on a later slide. It could be someone that is facing medical health issues, and so we are releasing them from their contracts so that they can manage their health-related issues. You also have a section on HR changes where we call it abandonment of position. That is when we have spoken with the employee, offered options for them to stay, could consider FMLA, medical leave, or other types of leave that DVUSD offers, and the employee still chooses to leave the position and not fulfill their obligation. Then that employee would be listed on HR changes as abandoning their position. So let me share with you a little bit about what liquidated damages is. So people do view often that liquidated damages is a penalty that an employee has to pay. It is important that we take a look at what the purpose of it is. When we propose liquidated damages, what we're actually asking the employee to understand is that when they causing a large disruption to the organization, and especially these days. Employee behaviors have shifted in all industries, and people leave their contracts far more often than they used to for us, and I also know for other school districts. So the money that would be collected from an employee that is charged a liquidated damage utilized organizationally for recruitment and retention. Again, it is not a penalty, though, of course, to the employee, it would feel like a penalty, and it certainly could cause the employee to pause and could cause them to fulfill their contract prior to making an exit. So these are the ways that we are proposing that we would manage these fees. So $1,500 would be charged for any employee that leaves the position after they sign their contract for a new employee. That's A. B, if an employee was renewed, so pretty soon the governing board will be approving the contract language. Once the governing board approves that contract language, we are then authorized to renew employees after you also approve the renewal list. So we are planned to do that the first week of March. At that point in time, if an employee does sign their contract, we would, and then chooses to leave that contract and gets a position somewhere else, then we would be charging that employee the $750 fee, all the way up until May 15th. After May 15th, if the employee were to resign and not fulfill their contractual obligation, then we would be charging them the $1,500 fee. And that would be true all the way through the end of that contract into the 23-24 school year. Here are the reasons that we are recommending in policy that an employee could complete a waiver for. I also want you to know that these are also the reasons that we currently practice, whether or not someone would be on a recommended list or position abandonment. So they could have a documented medical reason. They could be moving out of the county, state, or country beyond their own control. They could be receiving an advancement in position. Circumstances beyond the control of the employee as determined by the district. So in other words, it's something that we have not identified here, but it could be a very justifiable reason, and we haven't created an exhaustive list, and we believe that it is appropriate to release them from their contract. It could be a resignation in lieu of dismissal. It could be retirement. And then that last clause, again, is to allow for that flexibility in certification, licensing, and all of those other legal reasons why we could allow someone out of the contract. It's also important to note, I didn't share this at the beginning of the presentation, taken a lot of time. This is a hot topic from district to district. It's also a hot topic in both ASPA and ASBO because employee behavior has shifted so significantly. The information that we have collected, we have learned and made the recommendation of the $1,500. We really find that we are about in the middle with that charge. Many charge $2,000 or more. The reason we went with the $1,500 charge is because Peoria charges the same, and we border with Peoria, our school district does. We talk to school districts that do charge currently, school districts that don't charge. Many are reevaluating and whether or not they're going to maintain their current status or make adjustments. We have learned that some of them feel that it does make a difference. It could slow down the employees from leaving so quickly. It sometimes assists in at least causing them to stay long enough to find a replacement, while others just don't have the data to support one way or another, and they need more time to collect that information. Another thing that we need to make sure that we point out to you in recommending this policy is that there is information from ADE and the state board that will still need to be worked out. So currently, if an employee, you approve an employee as resigning as an abandonment of position, we report that employee to the state board. The state board makes the decision as to whether or not they're going to review that case and remove the certificate of that employee because statutorily they are required to fulfill their obligation. The state board is currently reviewing whether or not they see a liquidated damages clause as a buyout or as a liquidated damages. And so all attorneys at this point in time agree liquidated damages is not a penalty and it is not a buyout. So we are currently working that out with the state board. Oh, that was the last slide. So I will take questions at this time, and perhaps some of the questions you have on this topic could be related to the contract language I shared with you too.
Any questions, board members?
Not so much a question, but I think this is a good policy update, especially in today's environment. I mean, people kind of change jobs like they do under clothes. So this might give them, like you said, reason for pause. So I appreciate the effort taken to try to put this together so we can keep our teachers where they need to be. Thank you.
I have a question.
Ms. Orwin?
Do you know if there's, or do you sense that there's going to be an opinion on whether it's a buyout or a payoff, however you want to put that?
As far as the state board is concerned, we have no timeline for that at this point in time.
So they're not looking for an opinion. Has it been tested yet?
In what way?
Has anyone turned the paperwork in saying that you abandoned your contract, say you abandoned it in December, and there was a clause for whatever school district? Has that already gone through the department and with?
Yes, from my understanding, some of our districts have had conversations with the state board that were not interested in taking the name of the employee that was abandoned because they did pay their fee.
So they're kind of making a decision.
So they're working that out right now. Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Fisher, any questions?
I just want to comment that this isn't new. It's been around in every district or brought to every district that I've ever been affiliated with. It has failed here multiple times. I want to say at least 3. But I think it comes down to a communication from the board and from administration that it doesn't have to be necessarily negative. We're not holding you prisoner. If you are taking a position that has a promotion attached to it, you can seek, to have it waived. There's a lot of reasons. In the districts I have seen it implemented, there are regularly staff members who will apply for waivers, and they're granted. I'm actually surprised DVEA is not in here because the last two times this came, they were very against it, which is why I've asked the question if there's been pushback. It's kind of a standard language, and it has been, there have been individuals who have had to pay it out, and it is not a penalty. It liquidated damages. I just put liquidated damages in a different type of a contract today. Liquidated damages is not uncommon in contracts. I do believe it's been well vetted in several districts, maybe not large unified. Is it in any of the large unifieds? It is, which one?
Dysart and Peoria.
Dysart and Peoria, okay. So, and they came before, from what I understand, several years ago, correct?
Both have practiced it for a long period of time, and I believe Scottsdale also practices, or it is included in their contracts in Scottsdale.
So it is not a new practice. It is a good practice, though, to at least provide stability. And that's my take on it.
So I agree with Mrs. Fisher on the aspect when it comes down to promotion, because I know it needs to be on the language. When a teacher has a promotion, is it in the language that they will not be paying that penalty?
President Paperman, yes. What you see here is directly out of the proposed policy. So the resignation in lieu of dismissal would, unless you're asking about the contract itself. So in the contract itself, under the resignation section, it just references that if the board were to adopt a policy that would require an employee to pay liquidated damages, then they would be obligated to do so. So really what that language is referring the employee to is to go read the policy. And so if the board were to adopt this policy as it is proposed, they would be allowed to complete a waiver.
Okay.
And this language would provide that
We'll
provision.
provide them, okay. No more questions? We're gonna move on to our next item, C, governing board policy. Oh, we just did that one, okay. Oh, reports, okay, we're gonna move on to reports. Mrs. Orway?
Well, every day in our school district, we've got wonderful things done by wonderful teachers, staff, and parents. We had our CTE kids here tonight. They are a small group here tonight. Oh, excuse me, I'm very tired right now. There's two of them that were here tonight, but it's a mighty army, and they go from anywhere from welding to wielding a knife and culinary arts and making you a beautiful dinner. We have everything in between. My thing that I've been trying to work on, Mr. Miglerino, for a few years now, prior to you, Dr. Finch, is the fact that every one of our high schools is within 30 miles of Williams Road, where the West Mac campus is. And I know we don't have enough bus drivers, but I'd really like to look at that, to have transportation, because we do have students that would be able to attend if they had a mode of transportation, just saying. I wanted to clarify something that was said. Originally, I had not planned on being at this board meeting. I was supposed to be in Maui right now. I sent an email to the board president and to our superintendent, who are in charge of the agendas, last week prior to a draft agenda being sent out, asking that if standard-based grading and our social studies adoption was on that agenda for tonight as action items, to please push them out to the 28th, as there was no negative repercussion on our district. And 2 votes on such big items in our district deserved to have 5 votes. In the 15 years I've served on this board, I've missed 2 meetings. One was for eye surgery, and the other one was 4 days after my husband died. So I thought, since it had no impact whatsoever, obviously not, that it would be moved. Not only was it not changed, but I never received a response from our board president. I received a response from Dr. Finch. The dates for a board retreat were asked to be on Saturdays. I don't do Saturdays and I don't do Sundays. However, the Saturday that was picked is the 25th. Unfortunately, for my friend, I will be attending his funeral in Fullerton, California. That too was an arbitrary day that was not changed. The words collaboration, respect, all the words that are being thrown out, inclusiveness, are not just words to me. I try to work really hard, no matter what my opinion is or my agreements are, to get along with everyone, no matter what the social postings are, no matter the names that are called. This board is about students. So at the end of the sentences is I've done this in the best interest of the students. So there's your clarification, Mrs. Fisher. Ending on a great note, we have a lot of things in between us, but the Deer Valley Education Foundation, which does provide lots of support for our students, has their golf tournament on March 6th, 4th. Come on, give me the date. I know it's 6, March 6th. So hopefully we'll see everybody there. Thank you.
Yeah, March 6th.
Next, Stephanie.
Yeah, with this 3 weeks, we had an opportunity to go to several different campuses. Mountain Shadows, we were part of their leadership day, and it was so awesome. We were introduced to, well, because this is my first year on board, but their Leader in Me program, which I just think is absolutely fantastic. They have action teams that come up with things that they all center around helping in some sort of way, whether that be cleaning up the school, providing dance, kindness, action plans. I hope I'm saying that right. Action groups, committees. Because I was informed they were not clubs when I asked them about that, which was really cool because they have to create a mission statement for what their group is going to be doing. Anyway, great time. I was also able to visit several schools to talk about standard-based grading. I was hoping that I would be able to share some of the information that I gathered on those visits at our study session last week, but we ran out of time. I just feel like there's a lot more we need to be talking about. But I did get to go to O'Connor. I did get to meet with the principal and vice principal there. I did get to sit in on a classroom with honors chemistry. And I was also able to go to Union Park and tour every grade level classroom and see how they are implementing standard-based grading. And it was just very fluid. You go into each room, after going into one, you knew what to look for in the others, and it's all just very fluid. So I was really impressed by that. Attended the PTO luncheon, which was great because I had never been into the new innovation building there. And then we had our business partner breakfast, which was a great experience, and it was nice to see lots of familiar faces from when I was teaching, or teachers at my daughter's, both of my daughter's school. So that was great. And then we also, I had the pleasure of going with Anne to two schools who haven't implemented standard-based grading yet, just to kind of get a feel for what they were thinking. Stenson Hills and Greenbrier, and I got to meet with those principals, and that was a great experience too. I did the Bolts training last Friday. That was fantastic. Learned a lot there about working together with our board, even when we don't see eye to eye. Hopefully I can start using some of those ideas that they shared and put those into action so we can be successful. And then also on Friday, Union Park had this really cute sweetheart dance. It was a family dance, and my husband and I went with our 5-year-old, or not 5-year-old, our 8-year-old. She's not 5 anymore. She still looks 5. But we had a great time. The kids all had such a great time. The vice principal came out with these little light wands, and she had one for every kid, and they were just dancing and having a blast. So that was a great way to end that week. And then this Thursday, I'm looking forward to going to Inspiration Mountain and visiting the kindergarten there because they're going to be hatching some baby chicks. So that's all I got.
Paul?
So on the 27th, I was at Mountain Shadows with the rest of the board as we were participating in Leadership Day with Mountain Shadows. Got to meet with Dr. Gilbert and take a tour of the school. The tour was actually led by the students, so that was pretty awesome. We went down each hallway and they explained to us what the different postings on the walls were for, and we went into some of the classes and got to see them present how they were applying the 7 habits in the classroom and in their everyday lives. One of the big takeaways that I got from that visit with Dr. Gilbert was that she is using the 7 habits of highly effective families in the community. And I asked her if this was a community education program, and she told me no, that this is just something that she's found that the community is interested in and that she's shouldering the financial responsibility for it. So I didn't understand if that meant the school was or if she was personally, but I told her, and I might have been misspeaking, but it would be nice to visit with her and see what it would take to help get her the funds that she needs to continue to grow that in the community and make that available for families. As we're all aware, our families are challenged in today's environment, and if we've got something like that available that the community and the children have already bought into, I think it would be a huge help if we could find a way to help support her endeavor. February 1st was the luncheon over at the Innovation Center. Got to hear district updates from Dr. Finch and Dr. Z. I was privileged enough to be able to take a tour of the center with Miss Victor afterwards. Again, on the first, I met with Marie with the Deer Valley Education Foundation and Miss Ordway, trying to partner with the foundation to make sure that they've got the resources they need to be able to help the children that are in need in our district. We've got some things rolling, and I'm looking forward to see how that ends up panning out for them. On the 4th of February, there was the 2nd annual Home Run Derby at the Deer Valley High School in memoriam of a friend of mine that went to school there with me. His name's Kevin Rice. He passed away from leukemia and lymphoma a few years ago, and so every year baseball was his thing, and he played for the Deer Valley Skyhawks, and so we go out there and we have a Home Run Derby. And this was my first year being able to attend it. They had 23 people sign up to be sluggers, and it was a very, very exciting afternoon with, got to see a lot of friends that graduated with, and I'm sure that they raised quite a bit of money for him. So that was going on in the district. On the 6th, I got to tour Barry Goldwater with Dr. Stolk and Deer Valley High School, my old stomping grounds with Miss Crooks. I really enjoy being out in the schools. We've really got some fantastic staff and educators, and our students are the best as far as I'm concerned. And it was nice to go back to the high school. I hadn't been there since I graduated, really, so it was awesome to see some of the things that we have going on between the weight room where the cheerleaders used to practice upstairs in the gym to the air rifle field, if you want to call it that, that's out where the woods and automotive shops used to be. So they've got a lot of great things going on over there. On the 7th, I was privileged enough to be able to tour Sierra Verde with Mr. Gletty, Sandra Day with Dr. Miller, Union Park with Miss Graham, and Boulder Creek with Sutton. All of the principals that I visited with, we're really blessed to have them. They've got good community engagement, both with the community and then the family that they're creating there inside the 4 walls of their school. And the pupil engagement was awesome, and it was nice to get all the different perspectives about the hot topic of the day, SBG, and see where everybody's at with that. And just really blessed to be able to serve the community in this position and be able to get out there and visit with everybody.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher?
I guess I'll start with the same great day. It was Leaders Day. I have to agree that ever since doctor, she wasn't a doctor back then. Janet Gilbert was not a doctor back when she implemented this program. She got her doctorate with Miss Tweedy. Um, it is impressive how she has implemented it within that school, how she has faced the controversy and moved it forward. There should have never been a controversy in my mind in the few individuals, but I don't think they understood it. And that's one of the big things that Janet and I have talked about several times is people don't understand because they don't want to ask. And I really enjoyed being able to tour it with Paul, and our tour guides were very, very fun. I think we lucked out. We got the fun. We got maybe the rambunctious kids. We had a blast with them and got to have a lot of good laughs, um, and educate them a little, and they educated us a lot. So it was great. I would like to see that. I mean, if I had to pick a program to put district-wide, Leader and Me would be it. And I know that's probably not possible, but um, I like the consistency within that program that they start from the very beginnings and they stay with it throughout and they learn little bits, the positive good habits they learn. And so I love that program and I did enjoy doing that. I did enjoy having a little bit of reminiscing time with Dr. Gilbert as well, with some of the family support programs that we used to have within the district that we don't anymore. And I would agree with Mr. Carver that it would be great if we could possibly have those family. I didn't even know there was a family leader day until they shared that with us. Um, Program. It sounds very interesting. I would love to have something like that. Just help support our families district wide. Some of the questions that I've asked, I did get responses to. I'm not going to go through and read the full response because it's kind of, Gail, I appreciate the almost 2-page response regarding the Title I we were talking about, and that the response that you put in the Friday update about the gifted education and the local norming, if there is any way that we can get your response out to the public or something, because it was the questions that I sent you, they came from the public. I mean, I was curious as well, but those questions that I sent you came from the public, and your response is very well thought out. It's very explanatory. I think it would be really great if we could somehow get that out to the public. I don't know if we could just put it on your website or I don't know. If you have an idea, that'd be great. I do want the public who ask questions regarding the gifted education and why we have, the question that came up from the presentation. I want them to know that there is a valid reason, there is a good reason for the reason things are being done. And the district is not going out of sync. They are going above and beyond. And the explanation that she provided in that Friday update is a very elegant representation of exactly what you're doing. So if there's a way to get this out to the public, that would be very nice to do. I also want to thank, I'm not even sure who's part of it was from Monica. Thank you for the response regarding the advertising for the question I asked. And the Friday updates, from the Friday update, I got the impression that Dr. Finch felt I was being critical of his letter. I was not. It was written well. But the community member had, not only did he send me Dr. Finch's letter, he sent me his response letter, but he didn't send me the initial letter, so that was kind of odd. The reason I brought that forward and the reason I'm bringing it up now is it is important that our public understands that we are being responsible with our dollars. When you look at the overall cost that was provided to us, of roughly $63,000, and this is including homes and all zip codes and boundaries. That's like a year. In the grand scheme of advertisement or just keeping your public aware, that is so nominal. That is so nominal, and you really can't control how it goes where it goes. I get it. I get mail from the surrounding districts as well at my home, and yeah, they're annoying. Sometimes I just throw them in the garbage. Sometimes I look at them and think, "Ooh, we should do that. That looks good. I like that." Um, so I get it, but I did think it was an important question to ask because it was an important question enough for a community member to ask. And whether he was in our district or not, there are a lot of individuals in our district that ask that same question. And so I thought it was important that we note that as well. I want to thank the Finance Department for providing the information on the enterprise departments. At some point, I would like to get on the agenda a discussion about looking at kind of the two different that were provided, specifically about our print shop. I would like to somehow get a discussion for the board to talk about the print shop. And, when I toured the print shop and I met various individuals and talked to them about what they do and what their job was and whatnot, just kind of getting to see what it was. A couple of questions came to mind. Number one, why aren't we doing more stuff inside in the house? Why are we contracting with individuals outside? But additionally, are our positions realistic to their job? Every year, we redo IS&T positions. Are we taking a solid look at some of the other positions? Because some of the individuals I talked to, and they didn't tell me they needed a raise. They didn't tell me they didn't like their title. In fact, they were all very happy employees. But just from an HR perspective, looking at, they were doing stuff that was not, it was just above. It was so far above that I think maybe their description may be off a little. And I would like us to take a look at it because it is such an asset for the district. Even though, it may look like it's a loss, it's not, because we get so much of our own free printing. Um, hmm, hmm, hmm. I just a note, it wasn't on my prior things that I was going to talk about, but since Ms. Ordway brought it up, I do want to note that we don't generally move items for one board member. We never have. In the last 2 years alone, there have been at least 4 meetings where we were asked, could we be at this meeting or that meeting, or I've asked that something be moved to a separate meeting and been told, nope, we got our.
I would like you to provide some documentation on that because I don't remember that at all. And actually, my question went to Ms. Paperman, not to
Mrs.
you.
Fisher's turn, please.
Yeah, I'm responding because I'm just telling you that as a board member, I have had to change my plan in the last 2 years for 4 board meetings. Some of which that I was very clear, which honestly, it was a board meeting where we had to raise our own hands, Ms. Paperman and I, to even be heard. So,
Actually, this is not the point of board reports debate.
point-
You
the
have to have
point
the
is-
topic agendized to talk
well,
about it.
No, this is a response. So, and this is a current event happening. It is, in no way was Ms. Ordway put upon. It was standard procedure.
Are you
I am going to request that, when it was brought up, the way some of our agendas are and the way some of the policies are, and some of the things that have been occurring in this district are very, very concerning, because there's seems to be an upside down version of the direction things are supposed to go. And the Friday updates, specifically, some of the recent ones, including the one regarding open meeting law violations, is completely out of context and inaccurate from the conversation. So I do want that to be a part of our discussion, because the question that was asked of the attorney is not the question that should have been asked. It wasn't even the concern.
I just
And
forwarded your emails, all I did.
nope, you asked a question. And they, the board does not want to have our own attorney. And there's all this language in there that's all of a sudden, the board president has to ask permission to call the attorney. That's never been the case. It's always been if it was an emergency need, they were able to. If we had a board discussion, there was something they did. It was not something that was done a different way. So that concerned me. I think one of the things that can be really summed up, I want to thank Dr. Finch for letting me know that Ms. Reed's last report was basically slamming me. And I just want to say I am not going to waste my time to go back and listen to her report, because for the last 6 years, she has trashed me in private closed groups, but has yet to ever, to this day, not once has she ever met with me to
Excuse
discuss.
me, this isn't supposed to be directed towards our students and like the positive things, like not bringing up the past. I know, but this has nothing to do with what board reports are supposed to be about.
This is my report, and this is the only opportunity I have to share this, because this is a quorum of the board. The accusation that, well, you said she slept with a fireman. She's married to one. Big deal. Yeah, I said she slept with a fireman. She's married to one. I would expect that to be true. But the accusations that are occurring in emails and in the Friday update are not only slanderous, but because they're put in writing, they're defamatory. And based on this one email, no, I absolutely did not accuse Ms. O'Brien of sleeping with Dr. Weitenheimer. The rumor did go around, but no, I did not start it. The 3 individuals, Ms. Ordway, Ms. O'Brien, and Ms. Reed, have grabbed the superintendent from the time he took seat and have filled his head with lies. And he's grabbed onto them and he's repeated them. And that's a problem. That's why I brought this here, because it needs to be cleared. No, I was not terminated from Glendale Elementary School District. I gave them 21 days notice. And had Mr. Finch clarified the lies that board members and Ms. Reed were sharing with him, he would have not only found out that I gave 21-day notice, he would have discovered that a month prior to me giving 21 days notice, the deputy superintendent of business and finance resigned, along with the director of finance, along with the director of food services and the director of maintenance and operations and the director of transportation. That kind of tells you a little bit on what happened in that district. And writing the lies in emails that have now been sent out to the public and then repeated is slander and defamatory.
That was sent to the public? I thought it was to you.
What?
Your emails is directed to you. What are you talking about?
No, I'm telling you that you did not clarify what they shared with you. This is an email from you that says all this stuff.
Right, but it's between me and you. It's not that.
No, it is not. Because these are public records and you have provided them out, which is another point that's a problem, is public records. I am still receiving public records from over a year ago, and the last set that I got had links in it where I could click on them and actually go into student files. That right there is a FERPA violation. So these games that are being played are just ridiculous, and we need to, as a board, need to discuss this stuff that's going on. And I get the whole conversation of, I've never said anything hateful about you. Well, I'm sorry, but your wife has been railing me for 6 years. You've
That would be a
listened.
no.
I will give Ms.
All she
Ordway.
does is just call you out on when you have misinformation.
No, they're not untruths. She doesn't have a clue.
You pretty much attack me daily for the
No,
last
I'm
8
sorry,
years.
but that's
Can we move on?
that's untrue. The thing of it is, we have these efforts to tear this board apart, and it has to stop. And the efforts to, you know, the sending people to, and I'm not saying you sent them, but individuals sent them on your behalf to Ms. Paperman's house. These things that are occurring, and we have to address them, and we can't address them anywhere else. I will at least give Ms. Ordway kudos that while Ms. O'Brien was harassing me at my husband's bedside in ICU with complaints about why she didn't, or at least Ms. Ordway did not participate in that. But all this is documented, and I'm really getting to the point where I'm tired of hearing how I'm abusive to Dr. Finch, because nobody, where he might say he has a box of documents, I have flash drives of nonstop documents of the most hateful and vile things said to me. And I think this needs to come forward, and we need to address it. It's not, you know, I have repeatedly asked that you cooperate with us. And you know,
Why do you attack me
Miss,
online every day?
you take everything I say about you. I posted something about Hitler and you said that was about you. Come on.
Because the
I'm
sentence
not
before
even,
said Dr. Finch was a dictator.
well, there's not a question about that, but
Yeah.
you know, actually, if you read the thing about Hitler, it says that even it was actually a documentary we were watching, which, by the way, you can check my DVR. It was on it long before it had anything to do with you. So don't make assumptions, and you know, it's this direction that we're going. We're going to have this conversation, and but the public needs to be aware that that what they see presented to them is not accurate. You know, I get it. Miss Ordway is fun. I've always said she's a great PTA mom, but she also goes out. She's also gone out into the public and gossiped and said that we were going to take away people's Mandarin program to cause a fit. You know, as board president,
She's not here to defend herself.
it's nothing that she hasn't been told. As board president, I was asked by Ms. Frank and Ms. Tweedy to please keep Dr. Finch away from the Anns until he gets a chance. Just give him a chance. And I'm sorry, I got to apologize. I failed in doing that, because before he had ever had a chance to do anything, he had already met with them. They had already told him how horrible we are. And the very first time, you know, it's fitting that Miss Reed spent her last meeting slamming me, because she spent her first meeting before she ever even ran for office in Dr. Finch's office, slamming me, Miss Frank, and Miss Tweedy. So I want the public, and I want cabinet, and I want the community to realize that what they see as one side, it's not. There is so much more to it. And it is going to be a discussion that we are going to have, because it's gotten out of hand. Now, the last thing, you know, Mr. Finch noted that I had accused him of any type of inappropriateness, like sleeping with anyone or anything, because I said that the Anns and Miss Reed were his ladies in waiting. So I do want to provide him with a definition of the meaning of the word ladies in waiting, which is just a servant. So I do believe they were your servant. There's the definition of the word. And I've never accused you of anything of that nature, and I never would. That is a horrible accusation to make about someone. However, your wife did make that accusation about me, and that is problematic. So this needs to stop. This needs to stop, period.
We don't have enough time to go through all the things that you call me, Ms. Fisher.
We're going to continue. So my board report is, I'm looking for board retreat. We're going to have what Paul asked the policy to be looked upon. One of the things that I'm also looking forward is the survey data. I believe that we need to voices to all. It was an interesting experience, hearing from the parents, hearing from the teachers, you know, hearing from the district. And I have a comment to Dr. Finch that one thing that have worked when I worked in a previous district is when we unite, with the teachers and the parents and the district and to create that survey. Not just the district creating the survey or not just the teachers creating the surveys or the parents. All of us unite, like having a committee. I was part of a committee, so I know the process worked. And to me, it was very positive because we were representing our groups and moving forward to looking at the data where we trusted that, yes, this is valid data because we all collaborated in those surveys. With the standard-based grading transitional plan, I just hope that the district, again, because I strongly believe that in collaboration and communication. So this way we don't have parents saying one thing, teachers saying one thing, district is looking at this. We need to unite everyone. Well, what's this transition going to look like? Get the teachers' input. Governing boards get the inputs from the teachers. We get inputs from the parents. I get input from the district. Why don't we all unite and see how can this work? Look at other districts, at the grading scale, traditional grading, they have PLC. They're breaking up the standard. They're doing proficiency map. They have small groups. And they're very successful. It doesn't mean because, oh, we don't have standard-based grading, this is going to, collapse the district. If you look at other districts, it's the same thing that standard-based grading is doing in providing differentiating instruction on students, progress monitoring throughout time, looking at that growth. Is not going to affect the district from moving back to traditional grading. IB, I know Mrs. Orwell had concern with IB. My daughter went to Peoria High School to do IB, and it wasn't standard-based grading. She understood exactly what she needed, exactly what the standards were. She understood what 100% is, but when she transferred to Barry Goldwater, the IB there, she was very confused. I was very frustrated. She was frustrated. They couldn't tell her what a 4 is, and this is a straight A student. So worrying about IB, from my perspective, is not going to affect Barry Goldwater. But my point is for everyone to unite with teachers, parents, and district to make this work. Also, look at the new elected officials. We're going to go back to where high school kids are going to have to pass those exams, those state exams, or they're not going to get a high school diploma. So we need to start focusing on our students, collaborating again with the parents, collaborating with the teachers and with the district so we can make this happen. So let's focus on our students. This is all about our kids, making sure that they're going to be successful in life, making sure that they'll be ready for college, that they transition to college from high school to the college, give an opportunity. If they're not going to go to college, like I love the CTE that's in place in this district, give them opportunity to have those experience. It would be fantastic if we also can have an open mind. How can we get trade schools within the high school? It would be fantastic to give those students those opportunity because not all students are going to go to college. Give them every opportunity that they can. So this is my board report. And another thing I want to bring to the board is that I did request attorney, a listed attorney from the district to get advice. For example, if it's going to be this policy, get advice on this policy, or get advice in wherever I'm going to bring this advice, I'm going to make sure that this is going to be aware to the governing board. So one of the things that I'm going to say right now that yes, I would like to have advice on this policy with district getting involved with this policy and not having board interaction with staff. So if I can get clarification on that, so I will be looking at a list of attorney. Thank you. If we can get an attorney for the study session, that would be great, yeah. Yeah, from the list of attorney, right? Because that will help the boards, because then we can ask those questions. Yeah,
Just select one
okay.
from what you've received.
Okay, I don't have the names with me right now, but yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'll email Dr. Finch and Sheila for the name of the attorney. Okay, and thank you. Happy Valentine's Day. And I'm sorry that we had to stay this late. Thank you, Dr. Finch.
Thanks, Ms. Paperman. Yeah, I've never said a nary word about Ms. Fisher online ever, and I never will. That's not what I do. So, but the only request that I have is that she doesn't attack me online. And we can have our debates via email between each other or whatever. I don't have a problem with that. But I will always continue to call out misinformation from any board member. Always have and always will to help out. So that's the only request I have. Just don't attack me online. I appreciate it. That's the only thing I request. My conversation with Kurt went well on January 26th. And well, that one we did online. That was the first time we've done that. So that one can be viewed by people by going to the superintendent's website and on the DVUSD.org. And you can click on there and watch that if you'd like. And we'll have some more in-person ones as we head out to the end of the year. Most of the other stuff everyone else mentioned, so I won't go back through those. Just wanted to let everybody know that Goldwater played tonight. I just got a text that said they won 5-4 in soccer, probably in a storm, it sounded like. So it would be interesting to see how they did that. I bet you they even sounded like lightning, so I bet you they might have had some delays too. So, but a lot of our teams are in the playoffs, which is fun to see our teams having success. Two other things, board retreat is on the 25th. Make sure you get your topics to Ms. Paperman or Ms. Sheila so we can get it agendized for the 25th. And last but not least, we just found out that we won the National Forbes Best Midsize Public School Employer in the nation again. We've been ranked in Arizona 3 years in a row and now nationally 2 times. So it just goes to show that our hard work is paying off to impact a positive culture. And that's done by an outside organization that we have nothing to do with. It's out of Forbes, out of the East Coast somewhere. They do national surveys and pick Deer Valley as the #1 midsize employer. That's between 500 employees and 5,000 in public schools in the nation. So pretty exciting. So thanks to the staff that spend a lot of time and effort making sure we're #1 and trying to stay on top. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Future meetings are posted. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.